Welcome everyone to tonight's ordinary council meeting for Monday, the 15th of June, 2026. If we could all stand, please, for the opening affirmation and acknowledgement of country. Councillor King.
We gather to represent the people of Albury who have entrusted us with this task. May our efforts be blessed with insight, wisdom and common sense. May our personal values give us honesty and courage to serve our community effectively and with respect for all.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan, acknowledgement of country.
We would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people as the traditional custodians of the land that we meet upon today and pay our respects to the elders past, present and future, for they hold the memories, culture, traditions and hopes of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that contribute to our community.
Thank you. Okay, CM2. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed in accordance with Council's Code of Meeting Practice and will be made publicly available on Albury City's website. Attendance at this meeting is taken as consent to being recorded and included in the live stream. Any person who does not consent to being recorded may choose to leave the meeting. Members of the public are reminded to refrain from making defamatory remarks or disclosing personal information, noting that Albury City accepts no responsibility for comments made by those individuals. Recordings and live streams are protected by copyright and remain the property of Albury City. No part may be copied, recorded, reproduced or transmitted without the prior written consent of the Chief Executive Officer. Conflict of interest declarations, Mr. McGrath.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. Do have one. It's from Councillor Stuart Baker, declaring a non-pecuniary less than significant conflict, as he has co-authored a submission, More Than a Pool, or Albury's Case for Year-Round Aquatic Access, which has been distributed to councillors, council officers and the media. It's in respect of tonight's council meeting, item 14.2, the Albury Swim Centre season extension consideration. And Councillor Baker indicates that he intends to stay in the chamber and take part in the debate. You want to move on?
Yep.
I do apologise. I'm writing one. It is the same as the Thursday.
Okay, yeah.
And I'll do that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do your advice.
Do this first,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll just read out the general advice to the council meeting. The Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979, section 10.4 requires a person submitting planning applications or submissions regarding a planning application to disclose any reportable political donation and or gifts to any local councillor or employee of council. Reportable political donations include those of or above $1,000. The disclosure statement forms are available on Council's website or from the Customer Service Centre and must be lodged in accordance with the Act. The forms are also available at the back of the chamber during meetings. There were no development applications for consideration at this meeting and accordingly no advice was required regarding specific planning matters contained in the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979.
Thank you, Mr. McGrath. Councillor Glacken, do you have that document ready?
It's items 14.3 and 14.5.
Yes, and it's related. I think you can just read it out and then submit it if you like.
Yep. Okay. So if I may, for the acting CEO, with reference to a family member has made various submissions to council. It's non-pecuniary, less than significant. It's at this council meeting and it's with reference to items 14.3 and 14.5. I will remain in the chamber and vote accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 4.1 apologies. There are none. CM 4.2 attendance by councillors at meeting and audio visual link. Councillors, thanks. Councillor Callaghan.
I'd like to move the recommendation that council receive, note and accept the attendance of Councillor Cameron via audio-visual link for the meeting due to ill health.
Thank you. Councillor Bukowski.
Yeah, happy to second.
Thank you. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Okay. We have a procedural motion, councillors. that council resolved to vary the order of business to consider item 14.1 as the first item of business. So I'll move to 14.1. Councillor Bullivan.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I move the council resolve to vary the order of business to consider item CM 14.1 as the first item of business.
Yep. Happy to put seconder.
Happy to second the motion, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Happy to put that motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Okay, 14.1 Code of Meeting Practice Update. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. Through you to move the recommendation as a motion that council rescind the Albury City Code of Meeting Practice 2025 based upon the Office of Local Government Model Code of Practice for local councils 2025, and B, reinstate the Albury City Code of Meeting Practice 2022 based upon the Office of Local Government Model Code of Meeting Practice for local councils. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bullivan.
Happy to second, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken, do you wish to speak to that at all?
Very briefly, this is really an administrative matter at this stage due to the changes made at New South Wales state government level. We are, as everyone knows, creatures of the state government. We are subjected to whatever they decide, and at this stage, it was that we reverse the Code of Meeting Practice that had been most recently adopted by this council. That means we have to go back to the previous Code of Meeting Practice. At some stage in the future, we will have guidance from New South Wales Government, Office of Local Government, on what the new procedures may or may not be. To confirm that this reverts to a changed meeting structure and practice, it also means that councillors will have the ability to stream in to attend the meetings, which is something that had been felt very strongly by councillors as something that we did require, because councillors are only part-time participants in council per se, because often they have another full-time job. The other was with reference to some of the supposedly minor but significant changes that the government had imposed on the way in which we interacted at meetings, the way in which we could or couldn't be briefed by the staff. So it reverts us back to what was really actually a functional system and process within council for the meeting practice from 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. There appears to be no further speakers or against. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, action items, I believe. Meryl Minute, there isn't. Action items. Thank you, Councillor King.
I move that the following action plans be received and noted. 1, actions completed since the previous meeting, for noting only. Actions awaiting response from external parties, actions in progress, and long-term issues more than 3 months.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan.
Happy to second.
Thank you. Councillor King, did you wish to speak to that?
No, thank you.
Question from Councillor Callaghan. Councillor Callaghan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Mac, to the most relevant staff member. I was just hoping we can have an update on the Mama transition update and funding request, which was put forward in July last year. We had a Guardian member pause any action to wind up Mama, but also establishing a skills-based advisory committee. And I was just wondering where we're up to with that one. Thank you.
Ms. Cade.
Thank you for the question, and through you, Councillor Mac. With Council's resolution, the incorporation of Mama Limited has been made dormant and has been paused. We will provide an update to Council in terms of the legal way forward to then enact the resolution, but also taking into account our financial sustainability situation.
So just a follow-up for me.
Yeah.
So no action has been made in the past year for any of these items to be resolved?
Thank you for the question. Yes, we have internally explored and looked at those actions, but in terms of a council report, that is to come before you.
Sorry, just follow up if I may. Is there a timeframe around when we'll be hearing back about that phase?
Thank you for the follow-on question. Taking staffing and resourcing considerations into account, it'll be in the next June, August.
Thank you.
Thank you. There appears to be no further questions or debate. Councillor Councillor King, did you wish to close the vote on that item?
No, thank you.
Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. CM 7.1 minutes of the council meeting held on Monday, the 18th of May, 2026. Councillor King.
Move that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on Monday, the 18th of May, 2026 at 6:50 p.m. be confirmed.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan.
Happy to second.
Thank you. Councillor King, do you wish to speak to that at all?
No, thank you.
And there are no speakers or questions. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Questions on notice 8.1 Olive Street taxi rank. Councillor Glacken, did you read that? You comfortable with the response?
Yes, I did. I just want to confirm, if I may, clarification. The location, the new location is proposed to be next to a bus stop on David Street. Just confirming, is that outside what used to be the SSW Bob Bailey car park or Bob Bailey supermarket? Is that the correct location?
Back opposite my the car park. Mr. Lawson.
Thank you for the question through you, Mayor Mac. Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along. We have no reports from community forums. 10.1 notice of motion inclusion of the Australian national flag and Albury Mail email signatures. Councillor Bukowski.
Thank you. I would like to amend the motion on the screen before we start. Thank you. And that is to, we
Yeah.
already have done this, haven't we? Done? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so I move that Council A acknowledges the current Albury City email signatures include the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander flags, reflecting our commitment to reconciliation and recognition of First Nations peoples. B, resolves to include the Australian national flag in all official Albury City email signatures to, first, demonstrate pride in our shared Australian heritage and national identity. Second, recognise the Australian national flag as a unifying symbol representing all Australians. And third, align with national protocols that encourage the respectful display of the Australian national flag in official communications. And C, directs the Chief Executive Officer to update the council email signature templates to incorporate the Australian national flag, ensuring consistency across all departments.
Second, Councillor Bullivan.
Happy to second it, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Question, Councillor Bukowski. Can we take the question? Yep. Councillor King.
If you're happy to take the question, the feedback that we received very loud and clear was that our Aboriginal community really wanted their symbols and flags alongside the acknowledgement of the Wiradjuri people as a traditional of custodians. So you're suggesting that would, I mean, at the moment it sits above it, sitting beside it. Is that part of your thinking there? So very much separated from any other emblems?
Councillor Bukowski.
Yes. So part C, the idea is that we would discuss with the Chief Executive Officer in terms of where the preference for the flag would be. But the amendment was to ensure that the acknowledgement of country and the flags, that there was no change to that part of the email signature whatsoever.
Okay. Councillor Bukowski, would you like to open debate on that item?
Yes, I would. So obviously over recent weeks, there has been some considerable discussion about the motion. It has generated some very strong views, and there has been some genuine concern from many members of our community, including members of our First Nations community and the Aboriginal Advisory Committee. And I want to begin by saying this is I have listened to the concerns that have been raised. I've listened to the perspectives that have been shared both publicly and privately, and I have reflected deeply and carefully on what's been said. In particular, much of the discussion has not centred around the Australian flag itself, but on the wording in the motion that referred to the Australian flag being placed alongside the existing flags. It became clear to me that many people interpreted that wording to mean that the Australian flag would become part of or sit directly beside the acknowledgement of country. That was never my intention. However, if people have genuinely understood the motion in a different way, it is incumbent upon me as the mover to ensure that I listen and to respond. So that tonight is the purpose of the amendment, is to remove the words alongside the existing flags. That has been done deliberately and respectfully, and I'm doing that because I have heard the concerns that have been expressed. I want to make it absolutely clear that this motion does not seek to alter the acknowledgement of country. It doesn't interfere with it. It doesn't seek to diminish it, and it doesn't seek to place the Australian flag within it. The acknowledgement of country is going to remain exactly as it is. The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander flags will remain exactly where they are. So this motion is to ensure that the Australian flag is not going to be placed alongside them, nor will it form part of the acknowledgement. And the purpose of this amendment is to ensure that there is no ambiguity around that whatsoever. One of the comments that did deeply resonate with me during this discussion came from local Aboriginal elder and community leader, Ms. Seminara, who said that acknowledgement is not exclusion, recognition is not division, respecting the traditional custodians of the land does not diminish anyone else's identity. And I agree wholeheartedly with those comments. Ms. Seminara also said that the Aboriginal people respect the Australian flag, but that placing it beside the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander flags within the acknowledgement takes away from the purpose and the meaning of that acknowledgement. So I've heard that concern, and this is the purpose of amending the motion. Not because I've changed my view on the importance of the Australian flag, but because I respect the sincerity of the concerns that have been raised. To me, I think this is what listening looks like. It doesn't always mean agreeing, but it does mean being prepared to adjust your approach when somebody raises a legitimate concern. And the amendment before us tonight is my attempt to do that, because ultimately I do believe there is respectful middle ground that can be achieved here. I think we can preserve the integrity of the acknowledgement of country. I believe that we can continue recognising Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and their flags. And I also believe that we can recognise the Australian flag as a symbol that belongs to all Australians. Those things are not mutually exclusive. The Australian flag doesn't belong to one group of people or one political party or one culture. It belongs to all of us. And that's why I continue to believe there is a place for it within our council communications, not as a replacement, not as a competitor, not as a challenge to any other form of recognition, but a symbol of the nation that we all share together. I think at a time when public debate too often encourages people to choose sides, I think we should be striving for something better. We should be striving for solutions that recognise the diversity of our community whilst also recognising the things that bind us together. So this is an attempt to find a solution that allows every member of our community to feel represented. Thank you.
Thank you. Question from Councillor Baker before I take another speaker for. There appears to be no speakers against at this point. Councillor Baker, question?
Thank you, Mayor Mack, and through you to the most relevant member of staff. My question is, has the Australian flag ever been on council's email signature before? I know emails haven't gone back that far, but could someone please answer? And also, what was there before?
Wow. Mr. McGrath.
Mr. Mayor, I'll attempt to answer, but I'm probably the shortest serving member of staff here.
Good start.
But I'm looking around the room and there's lots of looks of not sure. So it's not unusual for council email signature blocks not to have the Australian flag in it. It's not a requirement, obviously. But I can't answer directly as to whether it's ever been there. By the looks of the faces around the room, I don't believe it has been, but I'm willing to stand corrected by a longer serving staff member. And the second question was?
What was there before? And I do know the answer, but
yeah. I think prior to that, there was the simple signature block, which had the name, the title of the officer and the address block, etc. And as I understand it, when council adopted the first RAP Reconciliation Action Plan, that brought about the inclusion of the acknowledgement of country in the form that you see it at the moment.
So, Councillor Baker, what was there before?
it was a slightly abstract paddle wheel,
That's right. That's what I thought. So,
and it was about Albury.
yeah, thought it was a branding. Okay, thank you. Okay, Speaker 4, Councillor Glacken.
Thank you very much. And I do recall council's logo being a drawing of an actual paddle wheel sometime before the abstract mosaic looking version of the wheel itself. And I do acknowledge Councillor Baker's question. What has the Australian flag ever been on our council's email or letterhead previously? And the response by the acting general manager, CEO, advising that it is not a requirement, and it is also not a requirement for the acknowledgement of country to be on our signature block. And it is something that we as council determined that we would do as part of the RAP. And there was never a question about whether we would or wouldn't do that. And I know that it was put there in very good faith and as a significant sign of respect and acknowledgement for the relationship, the very positive relationship that our community as a whole, the 57 or 8,000 odd people that 59,000, I've been corrected, thank you, 59 or so thousand people that we have in our community. And so I acknowledge that it was never the intention to be adding the flag to the actual acknowledgement, and it's never been the intention to remove the acknowledgement or indeed the flags. Now, when I spoke about this at our previous meeting and it was deferred, I was disappointed it was deferred because it allowed our community extra time to become further divided over the discussion, misinformation to continue throughout the community, this belief that it was the intention of a councillor or more to remove the acknowledgement of country or to change the acknowledgement of country. That was never the intention. There's also been suggestions that it was a political motion. Let me assure all councillors that I am very conscious of the fact that it was never a political motion. Discussion about adding the Australian flag was either being discussed with councillors and staff either last year or even the year prior. And for various reasons, including the reality of other very significant things that needed to be dealt with, it was held in abeyance and was put off for a number of reasons. But this motion is before us now, and it was indeed delayed deliberately so that there would be not the opportunity for someone to say that it was a politically motivated motion. So let me confirm, this is not a politically motivated motion. It is about mutual respect, understanding, and appreciation, and our community working together, being one community and respecting the variety of people that make up that. The RAP and the acknowledgement was a significant part of that, and I believe truly that there is no reason why the Australian flag should not be on our signature block. I also note that whilst there is confusion, or there has been some confusion, I also acknowledge that I truly believe that the majority of our community want us to add the flag to the email in the format as whatever is agreed by the staff, or indeed to have no flags present. So I think this is a good outcome to have the flag, the Australian flag, added to our signature block. And I assure the community that this is not an attempt to divide the community. It is an attempt to allow even more people to celebrate being a part of this community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. Speaker against, Councillor Cameron, then a speaker for. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor Mac, and I'm sorry if I don't sound very clear. I'm not at my best at the moment. I have pneumonia. I want to say a word to those paper mache patriots who have been very active on social media about this issue locally, saying that this flag somehow links us to our Anzac heritage, or is part of the distinguished military history of this country and the bravery exhibited by our armed forces in many wars. Australian soldiers did not fight under this flag in World War I, in World War II, in Korea, or in Malaya. They fought under the Union Jack. And in Korea and Malaya, they were part of a Commonwealth brigade and they fought under the Union Jack. The blue ensign, to my knowledge, was not displayed. The red ensign was displayed at Trabuc due to the presence of Royal Australian Navy and Royal Navy ships. And at Bathsheba, the colour party carried the Union Jack and the red ensign, not the current flag. Gallipoli was in 1915. This flag became our official flag in 1951, if I believe, if my memory serves, or 1954. People can do the maths surely on that. The reason, as has been well articulated, and I do congratulate Councillor Bukowski for attempting to ameliorate the unintended effects of her original proposal. The reason we have the Torres Strait Islander and Aboriginal flags in our signature blocks is a direct connection to our commitment to reconciliation for no other reason. There is no reason to have the Australian flag on council signature blocks. The Australian flag is flown prominently in our community, as it rightfully should be, and the fact that it needs to be juxtapositioned onto our commitment to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander reconciliation is just a dog whistle, frankly, to those latent racists in our community who delight in such things in a most disgusting fashion, in my view. So I will not support this motion, although I congratulate Councillor Bukowski in being reasonable and generous, as I know she is, in ameliorating her original motion, and I'll be voting against this. And I'll be looking out on social media for all the clowns who try and claim otherwise, that this is a symbol of our Anzac heritage. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Your voice is loud and clear. Question before I take a speaker for Councillor Glacken. Question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the most relevant member of staff. We've just heard that various conflicts that Australians have participated and represented and fought for Australia overseas were not under the existing Australian flag. Can I confirm two things? The Vietnam veterans, which flag they would have fought under. I don't think that was mentioned by Councillor Cameron. And the Australian Defence Force currently,
Point of order. I don't think it's our.
Your point of order, Councillor
I
Callaghan.
think it's our staff's responsibility to provide a history lesson in the flags.
No, I'm just seeking clarification, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I think it was quite clear. Councillor Cameron said the Australian flag came into being in the mid-50s. So the assumption would be that they fought under the Australian flag. And
Thank you. And
that
it's still doing so.
And still
Thank you.
doing so,
Yep,
I would
thank
assume.
Okay, so I would also like to ask, what was the date? We were given a date at the community forum last week that the Aboriginal flag was recognised as the official flag for the, Councillor Callaghan, for the Aboriginal community, the existing Aboriginal flag. I can't remember what that date was, and I'm just wondering if any of the staff can refresh my memory.
Yeah, I think it was 1987, but I'll check.
Thank you.
1987? Yeah, that was 1987. That's
Thank you.
what I recall.
1971.
1971, any more takers? Nothing like a real community forum in the middle of it. Well, thanks. Thanks, Trish.
Thank you.
71. Thank you. Speaker for Councillor Bullman, then speaker against.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I support the inclusion of all three Australian flags in the Albury City email signature as a simple but meaningful way to reflect who we are as a community The Australian national flag, along the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander flags, recognise both our national identity and the rich cultural heritage of our First Nations people of this country. Including all three is respectful, inclusive, and consistent with the values we aim to uphold as a council. It is a small visual element, but it sends a strong message that Albury is a community that acknowledges its history, embraces diversity, and is committed to unity. Importantly, it isn't about division or symbolism. It's for its own sake. It's about recognition, respect, and ensuring everyone in our community feels seen and valued. I believe this is a positive step that aligns with our role as community leaders and reflects the inclusive future we're working towards.
Okay. Speaker against, Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I think the debate around the original motion and again, what we're hearing tonight is a pretty salient reminder that the intent with which an action is made is not necessarily the intent with which an action is received. And as elected representative, it's incumbent on us to understand the context with which we bring motions, particularly ones that have the potential to cause, however you want to characterize it, disquiet, disunity in our community before we do so. So while I absolutely don't begrudge anyone for changing their mind or seeking to ameliorate issues after the fact, I do think that this isn't meaningfully different from the original motion. The speakers at the public forum that we had last Thursday, some of whom are in the audience this evening, articulated better than I ever could the history and the meaning and the context with which the flags and the acknowledgement of country exist in our existing email signature. And I would encourage everybody to go to the Albury City YouTube channel and listen to that public forum, because there were some really incredible speeches made by members of our community, and in particular members of our First Nations community. And the reason, as articulated by Councillor Cameron, is they are there because it's an act of reconciliation. So with that said, and all of the reasons that I articulated in the original debate, I can't support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hudson. Just for an update, the flag was proclaimed in 1995. It was actually designed in 1971. Okay. Speaker against is Councillor Callaghan, no speakers for. Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. Firstly, I'd like to start with, I'm disappointed that a motion such as this has even found its way onto the councillor agenda paper, although I do acknowledge your sentiments today and your willingness to listen to community feedback, Councillor Bukowski. Any suggestion to moving flags around is not a solution to any genuine problem, because there was no genuine problem to solve. This motion has certainly become political theatre, and it is putting Albury on the map for all the wrong reasons. The current arrangement is not unusual, controversial, or even radical. In fact, it's standard practice across countless professional organisations throughout Australia. We see it in education, government departments, health services, community organisations, and local charities. It exists because the acknowledgement of country and the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander flags serve the same purpose. They recognise the First Nations people of this land, and no one is excluded from that. The Australian flag is already represented throughout our civic life. It flies over this building. It appears in our chambers, at official ceremonies, on government buildings, and across countless public institutions. The suggestion that it somehow requires inclusion with an acknowledgement of country or in the space of an e-signature to validate its importance simply misunderstands what the acknowledgement of country is. The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander flags are there to represent the very peoples that have been acknowledged. Adding the Australian flag into that recognition does not make the acknowledgement more inclusive. It simply changes its meaning. What concerns me the most is that this motion is presented as an exercise in inclusivity, when in reality, it is an attempt to dilute the very purpose of the acknowledgement of country. If we genuinely cared about reconciliation, our conversations would be about improving educational outcomes, health outcomes, housing, employment, and genuine partnership with our local Aboriginal community. Instead, we're now debating graphic design. This is not courageous leadership. Sometimes respect means allowing a space to exist for its intended purpose. Not every space needs to be reclaimed, reframed, or recentered around nationalism. An acknowledgement of country is one of those spaces. Our Reconciliation Action Plan commits this council to building respectful relationships, increasing understanding and fostering inclusion. This has caused much angst for our First Nations community, and this was certainly articulated at our previous Aboriginal Advisory Committee. This motion advances none of the Reconciliation Action Plan objectives. It does not improve outcomes for First Nations people. It does not strengthen community cohesion. It does not advance reconciliation, and it simply creates division where none previously existed. I will not support this motion, and I urge my fellow councillors to listen to the unanimous rejection of this motion by the Aboriginal Advisory Committee and those who spoke at our community forum. Thank you.
Thank you. There appears to be no speakers for at this point. Councillor Baker speaking against.
Thank you, Mayor Mack. A lot of the arguments have already been made on this topic, but I would just like to go back to the RAP, the Reconciliation Action process that Albury City's been going through with our Aboriginal Advisory Group. I attend those meetings and have been attending them for the last 4 years. Mayor Kylie King was the first chair, and after that, Mayor Kevin Mack. They've always been respectful, really well attended, and I've felt that progress is being made at those meetings and reconciliation is occurring. When Albury City and the RAP agreed to display Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander flags and the acknowledgement, it was a gesture both ways and was a goodwill gesture. It had nothing to do with nationalism. It had nothing to do with patriotism. It didn't need the Australian flag. It didn't need anything. And I thought it was a really good thing to do as a city. And I'm just saddened that this motion has come to council. I'll be voting against it. I don't know what the numbers look like. It'll be pretty close, I think, but I think the wise way would be to just leave it alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. There appears to be no further speakers for or against or questions. Just to finish up, I just want to be put on record as saying that back in the 2018 or 19, just before the Anzac, but just before the monument was finished and the new monument appeared, we had 2 flagpoles up on the hill. And I was up there having an early inspection with the then Councillor Doxey about those flagpoles. And I remarked that, where are the other 2? And his response was, what do you mean? I said, well, where's the other 2 for the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander flags? And there was a bit of discussion about that, and I came back to the office and raised it with the executive, and it ended up in this same place. And again, unfortunately, it became a debate that was unnecessary and uncalled for, and certainly put this council in the national news. It was never the intention, and I'm sure it was never the intention of the designers who had originally put up 2 flagpoles to ignore the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people in the history of our return service people. However, it did happen, and it ended up in a debate in this very chamber. And I remember at the time saying at the end, as I am now, that I'd rather be on the right side of history in relation to this particular issue, and that was supporting that the flags be up there. And today, when you go to any service up there, the flags are very well received and certainly have pride of place on our very historic monument. So in this instance, I never believed that this issue was to be politicised as it was. Councillor Bullivant, his intention was, as a former serviceman in the army, and Councillor Cameron felt very strongly about the Australian flag. and certainly wanted to see administratively if it could be included somewhere in the email signature block. As it turns out, 7, 8, 9, 10 months later, it was actually discussed in this term of council, Councillor Blagan, but 10, 11, 12 months later, we find ourselves in the chamber having a political debate about something that was a simple administrative process that, because it's in the Reconciliation Action Plan, needed to be amended if it was going to be amended to be included or flags removed. So then we met with we're at the junction of this discussion about in or out or all or none. But to be honest, I think in fairness to what I've heard as the chair of the Aboriginal Advisory Committee, and in fairness to what I've heard in terms of the community on this issue, it's not a political issue, it's a personal issue. It's a personal issue for our community to determine whether they support our Indigenous community. And I've noticed at the reconciliation launch that they were all there the day after the advisory committee meeting. They could have been angry, they could have been protesting, but they were humble and they were sitting there enjoying the moment. I think we should all reflect upon that because there's too much divisiveness in this world at the moment. I think we should enjoy the moment. So I will not be supporting this motion. Councillor Bukowski, closing, thanks.
I'm happy to put the motion.
Thank you. Happy to put the motion. Those in favour? Councillor King, Glacken, Bukowski and Bullivant. Those against? Councillor Cameron, Hudson, Callaghan, Mack and Baker. The motion is lost. Thank you, councillors. Okay, CM 11, presentation deputation. There are none. CM 12.1 minutes, the Sustainability Advisory Committee meeting held on Monday, the 4th May 2026. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mack. I move that council receives, notes and accepts the minutes of the Sustainability Advisory Committee meeting held on Monday, the 4th of May 2026.
Thank you. Seconder, thanks. Councillor Bullivant.
Happy to second, Mayor Mack.
Thank you. Councillor Hudson, do you wish to speak to that at all?
I will briefly, Mayor Mack. I'd like to draw the community and my fellow councillors' attention to 3 items. The first 2 are in the minutes and the third is not. The first is that the committee members expressed disappointment that there is no funding allocated in the draft budget to new footpath construction outside of new developments for the next year's budget. The second is that expressions of interest for community representatives are open to join the implementation working group to translate our recently endorsed urban forest strategy into cost-effective work programs. As we've been at pains to articulate throughout the urban forest strategy development process, this is not something that council can do by itself. And we absolutely need to work with private landholders in the community to deliver that strategy. So community members are invited to join that working group. They don't need to have detailed plant-related knowledge because there are subject matter experts that will be on the committee from council itself, but they do need to have strong community connections and key skills in project management so that we can translate the strategy into tangible actions. So those expressions of interest are open until close of business on the 30th of June. And so anybody interested should email contact council to find out more about that. And the third and final item, as I said, it's not in the minutes, but I think it's absolutely worth noting, and that is that a long-term committee member, Dr. Jonathan Howard, was appointed as a member of the Order of Australia in the King's Birthday Honours for his significant service to tertiary education, conservation and sustainability. So, you know, what an amazing thing that we have a member of our Sustainability Advisory Committee has an AM for services to sustainability. I think that's wonderful and it's absolutely worth recognising.
Thank you. Are you speaking for Councillor Cullen? Do you have no? Okay. Any further speakers for or against? It doesn't appear. Happy to put that motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. CM 12.2 minutes, the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on Wednesday, the 13th of May, 2026. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Bukowski.
I move the recommendation that council receives, notes and accepts the minutes of the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on Wednesday, 13 May 2026.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan.
Happy to second.
Councillor Perkowski, do you wish to speak to that at all?
No, thank you.
No questions or debate. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Documents for sealing. There are none. Hang on. No, reports from the Business Growth and Community Committee meeting held on the Monday, the 1st of June, 2026. Thank you, Councillor King.
I move that council endorse the recommendations of the Business Growth and Community Committee held on Monday, the 1st of June, 2026 at 6 p.m.
Thank you. Seconder, thanks. Councillor Bullivan.
Happy to second, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Councillor King, do you wish to speak to that at all?
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Okay, we have documents for sealing. As I said, there are none. Officers' reports for consideration. Sam 14.2 Albury Swim Centre season extension consultation. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I would like to move, and this is not the recommendation in the report. No,
Of the staff.
excuse me, Ross, have you? Thank you.
Yep, okay. There's your, you'd like to read that? Thank you.
I would like to move that council note the outcomes of the Albury Swim Centre winter season community consultation, and B, continue to operate Albury Swim Centre on reduced winter operation hours from mid-April to mid-September with no winter surcharge. C, seek to increase winter attendance through programming initiatives, partnerships and promotional activities.
Thank you. Councillor Hudson.
Very happy to second that, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Councillor Baker, did you wish to speak to your alternate motion or the standing motion?
Mayor Mac, I've got a question for you. I've got quite a few questions for Mr. Glass. Would you like me to ask the questions first or speak to the motion first?
Ask the questions. Does it help you with your motion or do you?
It will, yes.
Okay. Ask the question.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Mac, to
Yeah.
Mr. Glass.
Yeah, sure.
In the report, it says that if the pool was closed for the traditional winter season from 4 years ago, mid-April till mid-September, there would be a saving of $187,000. First question, is the shutdown and open up costs in the $187,000?
Mr. Glass.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Councillor Baker, and through you, Mayor Mac. In the report, it assumed, yes, the savings are net of the startup and shutdown costs. So that does consider the startup and shutdown costs. However, it also assumed that the pool would close from the 1st of July. Now, the current recommendation is the 20th of July, which reduces that $187,000 by 3 weeks. Or approximately $25,000, so down to $162,000.
Okay, I've got a follow question. Yeah, follow up. So, assuming 187,000 and 20 weeks of closure, that in my calculations comes to 9,300 per week.
If you're seeking clarity on what that number is.
No, not really, but I'll keep going if you like.
The question.
Okay, so 9,300 per week. Given that by the 20th of July, when the closing date in the original motion would come around, there would be 8 weeks remaining at 9,300 a week savings.
If I could just clarify, please, Mayor Mac. So 20th of July would be approximately 3 weeks into the new financial year. And yeah, I think I understand where you're going, Councillor Baker, but it's after the startup and shutdown considerations, it's 8,300 per week.
Thank you. So that's a lower number.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I did do that maths at 8.3, but then, okay. So 8.3 over 8 weeks, I think equates to 64,400. That Albury City would save if this motion didn't get up tonight. And why I asked that and why I did ask you the other question, which was how much does Albury City subsidise Albury Swim Centre in the summer season? And how much does Albury City subsidise Lavington in the summer season, which is 32 weeks?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Baker. And if I may, through you, Mayor Mac, there was 3 questions there and I'll attempt to answer all 3. The subsidy for the full winter operations for full year for Albury Swim Centre is $710,000. The Albury Swim Centre. As you quite rightly pointed out, Lavington Swim Centre operates a shorter season. It operates for 30 weeks of the year, 28 weeks of the year, sorry, and its subsidy is approximately $440,000 per year.
Follow-up question, what is the average daily attendance for that summer season at Lavington?
The average daily attendance for the summer season at Lavington is 144 visitations per day.
And a follow-up, and this is for the weekday attendance during the winter season at Albury Swim Centre. Have you done the average on that?
Yes, thank you for the question. Over the full winter season, it's in the order for weekdays, in the order of 100 visitations per week day. 100 visitations per weekday.
Okay. My maths was 113 for the numbers you provided the other day. So, yeah. I think that's the questions just for comparison.
Okay, so did you wish to open debate?
Yeah, I'd like to, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
At this late hour, with 8 weeks to go and a savings of $64,000 by closing the pool and not supporting this motion, we would disenfranchise a very large group of the community that require winter water for rehabilitation, swimming, fitness, community, their mental health. And to me, it just does not make much sense that we would do this when there's nowhere else for these people to go. Albury City does not have any heated winter water. We've got a population of 59,000 people. Royal Life Saving figures suggest that communities with 10 to 15,000 people should have all year round aquatics. We're 4 times that size. We don't have it, and there's nowhere else to go. And I would argue that this would be the best money we could ever spend. So I urge my fellow councillors to support this and do something important for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. No speakers against. Have a speaker for, Councillor Gluckin. No speaker against, Councillor Cameron. Sorry, Councillor Gluckin. Councillor Cameron. Thank you.
Sorry, technical troubles. There's been a lot of commentary on this. There's been attempts to introduce what I describe as voodoo economics into this argument. Fairy stories that there's some sort of imaginary fiscal benefit to doing this, or equivalent fiscal benefit. The reality is, and I think everyone in Albury is keenly aware of it, that we are in a financial crisis. We have advocates in this chamber and amongst the senior staff for special rate variations of up to 40%. In my view, that's unacceptable. We need to do everything we can to reduce expenditure in this city and stave off the spectre of special rate variations, which we'll discuss a bit more later, I'm sure, in this meeting. This has only been a trial program, which has been in place, I think, for 2 seasons, if I'm correct, and I stand to be corrected if I'm not. And, you know, to say that this is the end of the world, well, what happened prior to the last 24 months? What happened to the mental health, fitness, and all the other needs of this group of people that Councillor Baker describes prior to that? Did they only develop these essential requirements in the last 2 years? The city cannot afford this ongoing expenditure. It's unfortunate, but believe me, this is only the tip of the iceberg. There are going to be a lot of disappointed people, I think, tonight, and there are going to be a lot of disappointed people across a whole range of our community, across the arts, across sporting, across a whole plethora of things where they're used to getting council money and ratepayers' money, we will no longer be able to provide it. And this is just the first of many cutbacks that the people of Albury need to accept and need to get used to if we're to avoid special rate variations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Gwacken.
Thank you. Yes, confirming I'm speaking for. I'm very aware that over a number of years of this trial of having the pool open in the winter, the savings have, the losses have been decreased. So it's become, the staff and the operators have become very aware of the levers and have made significant savings to the winter opening costs to our community. And I'm not suggesting that we should not water the playing fields in the summer. I'm not suggesting that we should actually not have the lights on our playing field or our playing fields in the winter, because that would limit the number of people being able to use those facilities for training, etc. And I do acknowledge, as Councillor Cameron has raised, that prior to the last few years, we didn't open the pools in the winter, but we didn't light all of our sporting fields either. And all of those things come at a cost. I'm not suggesting that in the peak heating and cooling seasons of summer and winter that we should close the library or Mama, because the costs of heating and cooling those facilities is very expensive. And I'm not suggesting that we don't fill the potholes on our roads in and around Albury. It's a safety issue. There are all sorts of things and all sorts of reasons as to why we do what we do as a council, and it all costs money. We all have a different view on what we should be spending that money on. Our community does, and again, we will look at that further tonight in some of our other reports. I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't water and we shouldn't mow the Botanic Gardens in the summer period. But I do think we should deal with the pool, bigger picture, longer term. This is a symptom. For a population of nearly 60,000 people, we have no winter water. I don't count what we have on the reduced hours when it's heated at the Albury pool to be considered as winter water. I mean, it's simply not acceptable. We're doing the best we can, but I don't think it's acceptable. I don't think we should be accepting that there's no therapeutic water in Albury either. The government is closing, if they haven't already done it, the therapy water at the hospital. It won't be long and it'll be closed. We need to be dealing with this as a big picture item. This is a Band-Aid, and I'm embarrassed that we have a Band-Aid. But I will vote for this Band-Aid because otherwise we have nothing. It is a symptom We need to deal with the real problem. We have two pools, two council pools for 59,000 people, one of which is not open in the winter and the other has reduced hours and not really pleasant conditions because of the cold of the change rooms, because of the distance from the pool in the relatively heated water to those cold change rooms. And people who go or need therapy water cannot use that water because of that distance out in the cold. So an outdoor heated pool is an absolute compromise. And I remind everyone that all in our community, they all emphasise different things. They all want different things and they want to cut others. Everyone has a different opinion. I'm supporting this because these people that use this pool, and it's a significant number of people who use the pool in those reduced hours over the winter period, and it's significant relative to those people that use the Lavington pool in the summer. I mean, it's really not much in it. I think we need to be looking at even those figures and thinking, maybe things need to change. So I cannot support the closing, albeit not, I don't think, appropriate. I don't think it's warm enough, and I think it's not a very great situation, but I cannot support closing that pool in those terrible situations, in the terrible situation it is, and not allowing the people who use it that space, because we're unique. I don't know why, but we don't have an aquatics facility. We need to be dealing with this bigger picture, longer term, and in the interim, we can provide a solution. It's already a compromise, an extreme compromise for them to have the reduced hours and not incredibly warm water. Thank you.
Thank you. Question from Councillor Callaghan. Thank you.
Just have a couple of questions, Mayor Mac. Firstly, Councillor Cameron raised the special rate variation, and it's been mentioned a couple of times that $64,000 of savings over the winter closure now, but in totality, $187,000. My question, yeah, it is.
What's the reference of your point of order, Councillor Glackham?
Thank you. My point of order is that this is not relevant to this discussion. It's about the Albury Swim Centre. We're talking about our budget for the next year. The special rates variation is a different report, different topic, different year progressing forward. Thank you.
I think Councillor Callaghan is prefacing the SVR as a reason to discuss the budget for the pool. I think it is relevant.
If that's your determination, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Callaghan, continue.
So my question to you, CEO, most relevant staff member, is in the order of $187,000 and our imminent SRV, what would be the impact on our bottom line in our budget? It's been recommended not to endorse from council, and I'd suggest it's because of cost savings. So I'm wondering if it stays in the budget, what are the ramifications for that?
Mr. Glass.
Thank you for the question. And just if I may, I'll just come back to the third question that Councillor Baker asked earlier as well. But at the moment, this is all about a savings opportunity. So we've currently budgeted to operate the pool throughout winter, this coming financial year, 26-27. It's important to note that the full saving for the year, as you correctly stated, Councillor Callaghan, is $187,000. If we reduce it, as the recommendation is, by 3 weeks, then that reduces to $162,000, the savings opportunity if we choose to close the pool. So I hope that clarifies you. We're currently budgeted to operate the pool, but this is about trying to identify savings for given our financial sustainability situation.
Thank you. And just another question, if I may. Councillor Glackham mentioned therapeutic water. My understanding is that the Albury pool is at 26 degrees and therapeutic, please correct me if I'm wrong, is at 38. Does Albury pool provide therapeutic water?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Callaghan, and through you, Mayor Mac, no, it doesn't.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Speaker 4, or question from Councillor Baker. Councillor Baker, question?
Thank you, Mayor Mac. This is a question through to Mr. Glass, and it relates to people not calculating the different financial years. You're dealing in financial years, and I think most people are dealing in the current season, which overlaps on 2 different financial years. But my other question was, when the current Aligned Leisure contract was let, was winter opening incorporated into those discussions?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Baker. For the current Aligned Leisure contract, yes, it was incorporated into that negotiation. And as I mentioned before, therefore, and it coincided with when we started doing winter operations for the pool. And as I said, so we assumed winter operations since the current contract. We've since gone back to Aligned Leisure and said, if we were to close the pool over winter, how much would the savings be for each financial year? And for the upcoming financial year, the savings were $187,000.
Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker 4, Councillor Bukowski.
Thank you. Yes, just to reiterate the sentiments of Councillor Baker and Councillor Glacken, I think that sometimes the cheapest decision on paper becomes the most expensive decision socially. I think the question before us tonight isn't simply about whether the shoulder season costs money, because every council service costs money. I think the question is whether the value delivered to our community justifies that investment, and in my view, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. No speakers against, no questions. Councillor Hudson, speaking 4.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I thank Councillor Baker for moving this alternative motion, because there was no way I was going to be able to support the original recommendation. I can't support closing the pool for around 60 days for this year, and I'm talking about calendar year, not financial year, while creating years of uncertainty for our pool using community, swimmers, clubs, families, older people, everyone who uses the pool. I'm not a swimmer myself. I don't derive any personal benefit from the pool, but that's not a basis with which I would ever make a decision around an essential public service, which is what I believe the pools to be. As a nurse, I understand all of the health and mental well-being benefits that the pools provide, and I think the contribution to the debate from my fellow councillors have articulated in that regard. The fact is, we have a completely out-of-date aquatics strategy in this city. It was endorsed in 2016 or 2017, is my understanding. It's fair to say that that's completely and utterly defunct at this point. One of the first things this council did at the start of this term was indefinitely defer the development of an indoor pool at Lauren Jackson. We know that the Lavington, I see Councillor Cameron raising his hand in agreement there. The Lavington Swim Centre redevelopment is frankly no longer on the table because of our financial position. Councillor Glacken has described the winter opening as a band-aid solution, as an extreme compromise, and I agree that's exactly what this is. We can't lock our pool using community out of the only facility that they have meaningfully and ask that they trust that access will return one day in the future when council's financial position has improved. That level of uncertainty is completely unacceptable to me. The community has to be able to understand what the future holds for swimming and for water access in our community. And right now, I don't think they do. And I agree, this is a band-aid solution, but I think that it's one that we need right now.
Thank you. No speakers against. Speaker 4, Councillor King.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I do think it's unfortunate that users of the swim centre in the current climate are being seen as the punching bag for our financial sustainability issues. Yet when I reflect on our draft budget and alterations that have been made on the budget, there was $1.5 million worth of consultants programs that we've now put forward to look at in future budgets potentially. So there certainly appears to be a bit of fat on the bone in terms of budgetary measures, and yet these swimmers and those that use the pool are really being seen as, I think, the face of it at the moment, which I think is really unfair. I think we can look at lots of other services that we provide to our community and put that under the microscope, and I'm sure that will come to light over time. And certain things really stick with you and you can't unsee things. And, you know, I've walked past the swim centre. I'm not a swimmer myself. Even this morning, and the sight of seeing a wheelchair and a mobility scooter at the end of a pool and seeing elderly people going about their exercise, it really hits me so hard that they may not have those opportunities for basic exercise. Another side of a man clearly had hip or leg injuries, sort of hobbling around, and as he got into the water, you can almost see that relief just appear on his face. Yes, there's water polo. Yes, there's swimmers. Yes, there are competitive people. But for me, those issues really resonate with me. And I've said it before, when I first moved to Albury, I couldn't believe they didn't have an indoor pool. I grew up in Sale, population 13,000 people, and we had it even as I was a kid. Went home to visit mum, and they've upgraded their indoor pool since I was first there. And from my mum's perspective, she can't do weight-bearing exercise. So being able to move about, relief from pain, to build on exercise is an important part of her ability to keep fit. And then I saw a busload of school kids going in for their winter PE class for swimming. All of those opportunities have been missed because of our inability to come to a solution for indoor aquatics. So for that reason, I am absolutely going to support this motion, and I'm really pleased to see Part C, because I don't feel that we've perhaps proactively promoted the fact that we have winter water. And in fact, looking at the Engaging Albury survey that went out, 8% of respondents said they weren't aware that the Albury Swim Centre was open during winter. So there could be some low-cost ways to get that message across more thoroughly through council's own promotional activities, and yeah, some programming initiatives and partnerships. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to cost us money. It could just be forming more proactive relationships with stakeholders that might be able to come to use the pool more often. And I think the report that's been mentioned that was sent to all councillors has given some examples of how that might work. So for that reason, I'll be supporting this motion.
Thank you, Councillor King. Speaker against, Councillor Callaghan.
Yes, thank you, Mac. Mayor Mac, apologies. Sorry, a bit casual. Mayor Mac, apologies. Look, since I was elected, it has been a contentious point of conversation for many years around an indoor aquatics facility. And I supported the process all the way up until we received $158 million as the indoor aquatics facility option. And we reached a point where detailed design was in the order of 10%. So looking at $10 to $12 million for detailed design. And I couldn't push forward on that. At the time, we weren't even in this dire position, but to spend that much money on a detailed design that could potentially sit on a shelf for a decade or so, when we know we can't afford $158 million, just seemed crazy at the time. Disappointing, but crazy. We also know, as mentioned too, that the Lavington pool that came back in the order of $45 million is now completely removed from our budget because we cannot afford it. I have put forward advocacy motions to New South Wales local government conferences to continue to advocate for funding for pools. It's not just a problem that we face here in Albury. Pools are really expensive to run and they're equally expensive to build. And sadly, we just do not have the money. To me, this isn't about the $64,000 savings. It's about the $187,000 savings. We know that Wodonga has winter water and there are also private facilities that are accessible. And I know that's disappointing. And I think the numbers are here today to support the season. However, for fiscal reasons, I can't support it. I won't be supporting the current budget. I don't support a special rate variation. The cost of living crisis for our communities people are feeling the pinch, and I just don't think it's financially viable to open the pool for $187,000. We simply can't afford it. I'd also like to probably mention, yes, I agree, Councillor King, that there is a lot of money in there in external consultants, and I will be speaking against that as well this evening. But, equally, come the quarterly budget, I'm hoping that some of those issues are addressed, that we pause discretionary projects and reduce consultant spending and delay non-essential strategies for the purpose of, I don't think our community can pay in the order of 40 to 42% special rate variation. So that is the sole reason that I can't be supporting this motion here this evening.
Thank you. There appears to be no further speakers for or against. Councillor Baker, do you wish to close debate?
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I just urge my fellow councillors to vote for this. I've heard the conversation and the discussion surrounding keeping the pool open. I think it's I think it's the correct thing to do. And I would just like to, for maybe Councillor Callaghan and Councillor Cameron's sake, just let them know that the benefits of one swim, according to the Royal Life Saving Association, this is economic and social benefits and keeping people out of the hospital system and all those things involved. It has a benefit to this community of $30.50. That's every single swim. And sometimes when you look at the bottom line dollars and the cost, you don't look at the benefits. And I'm looking at the benefits, and I did the quick count around the table, and I know 5 other councillors are looking at the benefits. So thank you for listening tonight, and I certainly hope this stays open. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Happy to put the motion. Those in favour? Councillor King, Councillor Glacken, Councillor Hudson, Councillor Bukowski, Councillor Baker. Those against? Councillor Cameron, Councillor Callaghan and Councillor Bullivant. The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. CM 14.3, draft 26-27 operating and capital budget, public exhibition submissions. Thank you, councillors. We'll just wait for a moment. Even the media are leaving.
I'll be back.
Okay, thank you, councillors. We're up to 14.3, draft 26-27 operating and capital budget, public exhibition submissions. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. Through you to move the recommendation as a motion that Council A acknowledges the submissions received during the public exhibition period, and B, amend the exhibited draft 4-year delivery program 2026 to 2030, draft 2026-27 operational plan and draft financial assistance schedule and draft long-term financial plan by, and they are listed below.
Yep.
I highlight the table with blue and green ink on it. C, adopt the amended draft 4-year delivery program 2026-2030, the draft 26-27 operational plan, draft financial assistance schedule and the draft long-term financial plan, and D, make each fee and charge for the 2026-27 year in accordance with the exhibited 2026-27 schedule of fees and charges, including the attached statutory fees.
Thank you. Seconder, thanks. Councillor Callaghan.
Apologies, no. Sorry.
Councillor Bukowski.
Yes, happy to second. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken, do you wish to open debate on that item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that there will be some crossover in discussion and debate between this and the special rates variation draft for public exhibition report that we will be dealing with tonight as well. This has been a long process. It's always a long process. The staff and councillors start discussing budgets in earnest after the new year, noting that there's always discussion prior to that. The budget of and work of council is always fluid. There is always something changing. Figures go up and down because processes, systems and practices are always constantly and ever changing. I would like to thank the community for the significant contribution that they have made by way of submissions. And we have a raft of submissions and suggestions in our document that we're looking at, this actual document tonight. It's absolutely fantastic to have people reading our budget papers, all of those documents, and making the detailed submissions that they do, some of them numerous times. So there is, for example, one person who made 3 submissions. That's absolutely amazing. One of the issues we do have is the fact that for decades, not 1 or 2 years, but for decades, New South Wales councils have been held back from determining their own rates by rates caps. The rate cap sets the maximum rate at which a council can rate its community. Those have always been less than the rate of inflation. Those have always been less than the cost of resources to our council. We are a growing and expanding city. We are a regional city. Of course, we need facilities and services that continue to grow and expand. We bring people into our community because we're growing and developing. We have an increasing GDP. We have people coming in and adding to that economy on a regular basis. We have a vibrant economy because people move here, they choose to move here, or because they come in and out on a daily basis. They shop, they go to the medical professionals. We have really, on a monthly basis at least, over 250,000 people utilising our city. If it were not for the fact that we are a regional city, a population of 59,000 people wouldn't have the airport that we have. That's an amazing facility because it provides an amazing service to our regional community, and that draws people in. Some of the submissions we received, well, in fact, all of the submissions we received wanted to either axe or add something, or they were supporting something. Lots of questions. How could we justify certain things? And it's great because it makes us as councillors consider, what if we didn't do those things? What would happen? And it also helps our staff to verify whether or not we've looked at things in the right way. One of the questions, and I'll just highlight a few, one of them was about the sewer video checks. They largely supported it, but wondered if we might be able to do it over a few years. Over $2 million on CCTV in the sewers, that's an expensive amount. But what is the cost if it goes wrong? If our sewer doesn't work? The cost of that infrastructure is significantly more than the $2 million to check it. We have to get that right. Another person strongly opposed numerous things. The Animal Care Centre works, asked if the other councils in the shires could chip in. The reality is they do on an ongoing basis through usage. The Botanic Garden works, swim centre upgrades, waste management upgrades, council building remediation, addition to bus shelters, fleet replacement, book acquisition, public art, Wagira Trail, urban forest, suggests that we could push that out a few more years. Components of the Disability Action Plan urged us to revise how much we were spending on that. But they supported the bridges and culvert work. They thought we should, not let that go. That's an amazing list of things. And the research that person has done, I don't agree with all of it, but it's an amazing amount of research. and the dedication of that person to go through all of those documents, that's fantastic. And that the staff have commented on each of these submissions, provide real and meaningful answers to the people making those submissions, but also to benefit us as councillors. And as I said, it affords our staff the opportunity to second check again. Have I looked at this the right way? I do support the report as it is and the inclusion of the documentation that we have there. No budget will ever please all of us, and no budget will ever be wholeheartedly accepted by our community. But it does, the feedback we've been given does provide us with some level of comfort when we get to our next report, when we look at the standard, the special variation of, or special rates variation going out to community consultation, or the proposal to send it out to community consultation. The community often raised in their submissions.
Point of order, apologies.
Councillor Keller.
The time, just time, Councillor Glacken, you're a minute and a half, nearly 2 minutes over, 5 minutes. You'll get an opportunity to close, and I'm sure you can finish off there if you don't mind. Sorry. Thank you.
If I can finish my sentence.
Yeah.
The feedback that we had from our community was that not only were they raising questions, they were also very supportive of the significant amount of work that goes into these reports and the work of amassing all of that into the proposals for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Question, Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. Through you to the most relevant member of staff. My question relates to the developer contributions, and we had last year we amended our infrastructure contributions plan to raise the contributions paid by property developers to the lower $20,000 cap. My question is, how is the work progressing on the next round of those changes to increase that amount?
Mr. Christie.
Yep. Thanks for the question, and for you, Mr. Mayor. That's part of this. Where at the moment we're currently at a request for tender for consultants to undertake the work for it. Unfortunately, in this case, we do require the consultants to undertake the specialist work. And so at this point, that's out for tender until, I believe, the 30th of June, but it could be a couple of days either side for then the project to hopefully commence soon after, depending upon the costs of the consultants and what we would need to do in that respect.
Follow-up question. How long, thank you for that answer, Mr. Christie. How long do we expect that process to take once the tender has been let?
Thank you for the question for you, Mr. Mayor. In some ways, that answer is a little bit hard to give quite now, because obviously the tenders that come in will give a time frame for the consultants to be able to undertake that work. We do anticipate that work, though, will be completed in the coming financial year, 26-27. What is unknown is obviously, should that exceed the cap, which we expect the answer will be, is we require that to go to IPART and go through IPART processes. But for us to complete our work, to get all of that done, it's scheduled for completion in the 26-27 financial year.
One final question.
Yeah.
Through you, this may be to another member of staff. Given that that work has not yet been undertaken and we don't know what IPART's decision will be, have the increase in cap and therefore future increase in revenue from developer contributions been incorporated into the financial planning?
Thanks for the question. Through you, Mayor Mac. No, they haven't.
Okay, thank you.
Question, Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. A couple of questions. One of the reports, the draft delivery program, has removed a number of items from the plan. I'm wondering what is the total value of those items removed?
Mr. Hastie, are you able to answer that question?
Thank you for the question.
Sorry, the first attachment.
Councillor Glacken, I'm not quite sure of the number off the top of my head.
Okay.
Uh,
Thank you.
no worries. Councillor Callaghan speaking against the motion.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Mac. I can't support the budget because I don't believe it reflects what our community wants. This isn't a debate about whether projects are good ideas or not. Many of them absolutely are. And over multiple years, I have happily endorsed them and hoped that they would come to fruition. It's about whether they are the right priorities now. And when council is preparing to ask our community to pay significantly more through a special rate variation, when money is tight, priorities absolutely matter. In my view, the budget process needs to change. Every year, councillors provide feedback on the budget, and every year we ask our community for feedback. We commission surveys and consultants to tell us what our residents really value. Yet we are largely presented with one budget, receive it back after consultation with no amendments or alternative options, and a recommendation to endorse the status quo. I pose the question to ponder moving forward in alternative years. Why can't councillors be presented with different budget options that reflect both the community and councillor feedback? Whilst council staff do such a great job in collecting that feedback, if consultation doesn't influence the budget, then consultation may lose its purpose to many in our community. The kitchen table test, otherwise known as the pub test, or keep it family friendly, but I think every family understands this. When finances are under pressure, you don't renovate the house, buy a new car or landscape or the backyard all at once. You fix what's essential, you delay what can wait. And in my opinion, council is continuing discretionary spending while preparing to ask our community to pay more. That simply doesn't pass the kitchen table test. And here are some examples in the budget, and I'm going to focus on capital items because it's not my responsibility to manage staff personnel or decide on what happens beyond that. But we are proposing to spend another $120,000 on the East Albury Industrial Precinct review for land that council doesn't own. We're also preparing another $150,000 on the Young Street land use strategy, again, for land that council doesn't own. Combine this with previous expenditure on those parcels of land, we're approaching around $600,000 spent on external consultants. And mind you, I've looked at those previous papers, and that some of them are planning for land that counts. It's not a council asset, and it baffles me why we continue to invest money in land that we don't own. We have $330,000 for a retail action plan to provide training, engagement and activities when the CBD businesses are crying out for their footpaths to be cleaned. We're persisting with a $1.6 million upgrade to Butt Street, where 25 of those 30 houses signed a petition that they don't want. To me, an easy win. We have $1 million for tool upgrades, $2.8 million on Dean Street, Garden Street roundabout. These are exactly the kinds of projects that should be paused before asking ratepayers for more money. This budget still contains too many discretionary projects, strategies, reviews, and consultant spending. Before asking our community to pay more, council should first pause discretionary projects, reduce consultant spending, delay non-essential strategies, review our fleet replacement, which is in the order of $10 million, and investigate structural efficiencies where possible. This is not an argument against investing in Albury. It's about responsible investment. We need to be making difficult decisions before asking residents to make them. I can't support asking our community to pay more until council can honestly say that we've reduced spending, that we've delayed projects that can wait, that we are focusing on core business, and we've demonstrated financial discipline. Until then, this budget is asking ratepayers to solve a problem before council has demonstrated it's willing to solve it itself. More needs to be, and I hate to use the word cut, but I'll also refer to deferred. Quite simply, this budget isn't good enough for our community and I can't support it. And I hope, and I'm confident there's more work to be done by staff as well before the quarterly budget. Thank you.
Thank you. No speakers for. Speaker against. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. I'll be brief by necessity. I largely echo the observations of Councillor Callaghan. Excuse me. This should be an austerity budget. With the very unwelcome news recently that we were so far into deficit, after only a month before being told that the deficit was $11 million, and then finding out it was in excess of 20, that should have hit all panic stations running. And this budget should reflect the most austere approach possible. And that was certainly what I thought councillors were making clear. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear to do that. And I'll have more to say during the discussion about special rate variations. But we need to be thinking outside the square in terms of the services that we continue to provide and whether they are essential services before we even approach the idea of special rate variations. Thank you.
Thank you. There appears to be no speakers for at this point. Another speaker against, Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mack. To begin, I want to thank the huge amount of work that the staff have undertaken to get us to this point. Developing the budget for an organisation which has well over $1 billion in assets and hundreds of millions of dollars in operational expenditure is no small feat. So as I said, I do thank them for that work. With that said, I can't support this budget. As I've articulated to senior members of staff throughout the budget build process, I understand that their role is to find balance. It's to balance the priorities of the community. It's to balance our statutory and legislative requirements. It's to find fiscal balance. But that's their job. My job as one of 9 is to articulate a particular point of view. And that's the point of view of the portion of the community who elected me. And I know that those people expect me to stand up for the environment and for social justice. They expect me to oppose cuts to environmental initiatives like the Land Management Incentive Program, which acts as a force multiplier and enables private landholders to deliver biodiversity improvements that we are unable to do. They expect me to oppose cuts to the Communities and Cultural Grant, which likewise acts as a force multiplier and enables people in our community and groups in our community to deliver programs which improve social cohesion and bring opportunities to people. They expect me to say, no, we should build new footpaths. We should have a budget for new footpaths over the next 4 years, not just ones that are in new developments, because there are so many people in our community who face so many barriers to leaving their home, and the lack of a footpath out the front of their house should not be one of them. And they expect me to say that the property developers in this town have been having a very good run for a very long time. We have had extraordinarily low developer contributions since 2014. And yes, we made improvements in 2025, but there is still a long way to go with that. And in the meantime, our community is being, well, not even asked, our community has to pick up the slack for the infrastructure costs that should be borne by the developers, because they enable their very profitable developments. They wouldn't be doing it if it was another way. So like Councillor Callaghan, I do think the budget process needs to change. As much as I would have loved to have come here tonight and proposed amendments to this budget to put the things in that I think are important and to find the balance that I think that we should strike, I also don't think that that is good or responsible governance, because frankly, as one individual, I don't have the visibility or the understanding at the granularity that is necessary to make amendments like that without knowing the unintended consequences. So I would have loved to have been able to support one budget. I would have loved to have had a number of options that we could have looked at to say, well, this is the pro-infrastructure renewal budget. This is the pro-community services budget. But I understand that right now, the way things operate in the local government sector, that's not really how it works. So ultimately, I'm forced to not support this budget because I don't believe, and the people who voted for me, I don't think they believe that it strikes the right balance. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Leopold, have you got your button pressed, or was that an accident? Councillor King, question?
In the quarterly review budget process, we're often able to make adjustments as we go. Are there opportunities to do that throughout the year while this is the budget that's potentially being endorsed, given the feedback that's being heard tonight? What opportunity might there be for adjustments as we go? To the most relevant member of staff.
Mr. McGrath.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor King. Through you, Mayor Mac, the reality is that through the quarterly budget review process, council has the opportunity to amend the various elements in the budget and the operating plan. I would suggest that that should be based on some sort of sound assessment, based on facts and information provided by the relevant officer. And there's an opportunity for council to flag specific issues that could be addressed that way. And indeed, I'm just looking, there's a table on page, I think it's 37 of the business paper, which lists a number of the projects, some of which Councillor Callaghan, for example, mentioned, are in future years, 27, 28, 28, 29, etc. And they've been flagged, I believe, in the body of the report to say that those items in particular will be teased out through the quarterly budget review process or in the formulation of the operating plan and budget for 27, 28 and ongoing. So there are various opportunities, but I guess once this is adopted, it's not absolutely locked in concrete. However, it does provide an indication, and I would suggest there needs to be some appropriate justification for reviewing and removing, etc., that the councillors generally are satisfied with.
Abby?
Clarification, and yes, I did note that the year 2 to 4 projects to be reviewed in the next budget cycle were some of the ones that I was definitely concerned about, given that a lot of that involves consultants. So thank you for the clarification.
Okay, question, Councillor Callaghan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Mac, through to the most relevant member of staff. Given that we've just rescinded the previous code of meeting practice and we're returning to the old meeting practice, does that give us an opportunity to do a CEO workshop on the budget? Because prior to this, we haven't been able to do that. And in previous years, we've had weekends where we're able to talk about the budget much more openly. What does that look like from a learning space, but also an informative space for council?
Mr. McGrath.
Councillors.
The simple answer is yes. It does provide that opportunity, if I can call it an opportunity, but I would caution against falling too solidly back into that practice, because indications from the Office of Local Government and the Minister's Office have been that they are working on a 2026 regulation and code, model code, with a view to getting it out sooner rather than later. I can't give you a timeline on that, but I fully expect that when that does come out, the Minister's been pretty clear about, confidential closed sessions, etc. And I would suggest that they'll be definitely in any new 2026 code. And I guess for absolute clarity, we have in the last couple of days talked about doing exactly that around a CEO's briefing for the councillor group around some of the financial challenges and, potential issues that could be considered in any strategies moving forward. But look, I will say once again, we've been very clear during the community stakeholder briefing sessions over the recent exhibition period. And I've also been very clear in my discussions with the various staff groups right across the board that, any potential options moving forward that may impact on services obviously need to be the subject of engagement with the community. And secondly, engagement with our people, that is the workforce, because essentially, our staff make up the delivery of services by and large right across the local government area.
Thank you, Mr. Pratt.
Thank you. Any further questions or debate, councillors? Doesn't appear to be. Just to round out, I'd really, listening to the speakers against and for, I think, again, in the last 18 months, and this particular last 8 months, it's been very difficult under the new code to have the honest and frank discussions that we had in previous budget processes. And the staff have done a fantastic job to pull together this particular budget under difficult circumstances. And I would respect all the work that's been done and understand the concerns of the community and certainly the concerns of the councillors in that regard. I would, the issue is, as pointed out by Councillor Callaghan, those honest and frank warts and all discussions that have been held in the past in our budget workshops haven't been able to be had, to be fair, in this context, and we seem to be having them in more often in the chamber, which is not productive and certainly not constructive. And I just think the staff need to be acknowledged for the work effort and the work the finance team have done and all the staff have done, and the continuing work that will continue, because I have absolute confidence that the changes will occur, and it's a slow process. Everything in bureaucracy is a slow process, but the commitment from our staff to see fiscal change and improvement is second to none. And I give that undertaking to the community that this budget is reflective of that. While some may say it's not, I think it is. Yes, could there be further improvements? Yeah, there could. But again, to Councillor Glacken's point, people are going to be happy and people are going to be unhappy. You can never make everyone happy, but particularly in a cost of living environment, it's really difficult to frame a budget that pleases everyone, and very heartened by the number of submissions that were received and the longer submissions. But I did note, as Councillor Glacken did note, that there was a lot of conversation about capital projects, which again, the capital projects have minimal impact upon the general fund. Let's make that clear. The general fund is made up of operating services, wages, and the interest that may be attracted by loans from the capital fund. So let's be clear on that. The capital projects are capital projects funded out of cash reserves or funding from the government. But more importantly, I think listening to the council speaking against this budget is heartening in one way, because the community are evenly recommended. Are certainly represented here in the chamber, but at the same token, in this very, very sensitive time that we're in, it's very difficult to keep us all happy and keep everyone online if we don't have the appropriate opportunities to sit together and have these open discussions. So I welcome the CEO workshops back to under the old code, interim CEO, and I think that conversations can be had that we ordinarily shouldn't have in the chamber, because a lot of personal opinions are vented in those discussions. They would not be decision-making discussions, Councillor Cameron, but they would be productive to clear the air. So thank you for the budget. Thank you for the work, guys, because you've done a fantastic job, and I hope I'm sure it will continue. Councillor Glacken, did you wish to close debate?
Yes, just to highlight a couple of things. The developer contributions question asked was perfect, because it highlights another area where council is hamstrung. There is a cap on at which we can charge that at the moment. It's something that the New South Wales government controls. There have been significant savings achieved by council in these draft reports or plans, achieved because council staff have found other ways to do things. They've been for years trying to achieve savings, and they have saved millions of dollars over the last few years. Often the queries that are raised by our community understand some of the aspects of each of the components they raise with us. So if we look at, for example, roadworks, the repair of a certain section of a street, they may think it's really just ripping off the asphalt and putting on a new layer of asphalt. It's not necessarily that. It's incorporating access, at times bus stops. It's looking at footpaths, curb and guttering, often looking at the water and sewer underneath and the other infrastructure that I think it's about 600 kilometres of sewer pipes that we have in Albury City Council now, and I think it's something like 700 kilometres of water pipes. All of those things are significant components of the infrastructure, and that's related to the servicing that we deliver. Yes, it's a difficult budget. No, we don't really want to put up the cost and the rates, the fees and charges to our community. But what is the alternative? Do we really want to have a second-rate city? Does our community really want us to cut all of the things that everyone suggests we cut? Because there wouldn't be a lot left. We need to do this in a balanced way. And I can't remember who it was. I think it was one of the councillors who suggested that we need to do this in a balanced way, and it's very difficult to do so. We have been hamstrung by the New South Wales government regulations for the code of meeting practice. It hasn't helped us. The staff have been incredibly focused on providing the information that they have provided and working with us to ensure that we have a budget that is in the right direction, is looking after the facilities and services that we have and continuing to grow and develop our city as we should do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. Happy to put the motion. Those in favour, Councillor King, Councillor Glacken, Councillor Mack, Councillor Bukowski, Councillor Bullivant, Councillor Baker. Those against, Councillor Cameron, Councillor Hudson and Councillor Callaghan. The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. 14.3, the supplementary statement of revenue policy. It's a supplementary report. You would have all received that on your emails. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor, Mr. McGrath, did you wish to speak?
I just wanted to confirm that that's the formal methodology for establishing the rates, fees and charges for the 26-27 financial year. And I want to make it abundantly clear that those fees and charges are as were exhibited in the draft plans. They are incorporate where appropriate the annual rate peg for 26-27 and no more. That's 3.6%. And there are some other statutory fees, etc., in there. And I think some of the fees that are not governed, the user charges, for example, which have been the subject of consultation and engagement with councillors in the community. But there's no change from what was originally exhibited.
Thank you, Mr. McGrath. Okay, happy for someone to move the motion. Councillor Bullivant.
Thank you, Mayor Mack. Pick the smallest one of the night. I recommend that Council A adopts and makes each rate charge for the 2026-27 year in accordance with Exhibit 2026-27 Statement of Revenue Policy. Section 494 of the Local Government Act 1993 requires Council to make and levy ordinary rates on all rateable land in its area for the year 2026-27. Section 495 of the Local Government Act 1993, Council will make and levy special rates on specific rateable land in this area of the year 2026-27. Section 497B of the Local Government Act 1993 provides the method of structure for the Council's rates. The Council ordinary rate has a base amount of which is ad valorem is added. And the base amount in accordance with sections 499 and 500 of the Local Government Act 1993. The ad valorem amount of the base amount will apply for the 2026-2027 is outlined below in the table. Happy to accept the table, yep.
Yep.
And the domestic waste management, non-residential waste management, Albury City will make the following charges for levying in the 2026-2027 to meet the costs associated with collection, disposal and recycling of waste in accordance with section 496, 501 and 504 of the Local Government Act 1993. Happy with the table?
As listed, yep.
As listed. Water and sewer charges. Albury City will make the following charges for levying the 2026-2027 in accordance with sections 501, 502 and 552 of the Local Government Act 1993, as well as reflecting the requirements of the Council of Australian Governments through the New South Wales Water Supply Authority, New South Wales Water Supply, Sewerage and Trade Waste Pricing Guidelines. Water meter reads are scheduled for October, February and June, with billing generally undertaken in the subsequent month. Annual charges will be levied in 3 equal instalments. Happy with the table? excess mass charges apply, which are subject to volume variations. For more information, refer to Albury City's 2026-27 Schedule of Fees and Charges. Council will apply 9.5% interest on rates and charges that remain unpaid after they have become due and payable in accordance with Section 566 of the Local Government Act 1993.
Thank you, councillor Bullman. Councillor Gluckin.
Your second.
Thank you, councillor Bullman. You had a break. Did you want to open debate on that issue?
No, I'm fine. Thank you, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Looks like there's no speaker for councillor Gluckin.
Thank you. Just to confirm, this as was exhibited. It's the rate cap increase. And therefore, just to highlight, it is actually increasing less than the costs to council. Whether people want to believe that or not, it's true. It's greater than it's less than the CPI and or the cost of services and materials that council needs to purchase with which to do its work. So it is unfortunately not helping us. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bullman, did you wish to close debate?
No, thank you, Mayor Mac. I think it's self-explanatory, the motion.
Thank you. It's very long. Happy to put the motion. All in favour? Those against? The motion is carried. Councillor Cameron noted. Okay, the next item is the rationalisation of strategies and plans update. Thank you, councillors. Councillor King.
I move that council endorse the draft Albury City Strategic Documents Map and Table of Documents rationalised, and B, receives and notes the rationalisation of strategies and plans update.
Thank you. Councillor Bukowski.
Peter second.
Thank you. Councillor King, did you wish to speak to that?
No, thanks. I think all councillors have the report and the rationale behind the update, so I'm happy to leave it for that.
Thank you. Councillor Gluckin, you have a question?
Just to confirm, so the total of the original documents was 126, 39 were retired or completed, etc., or reclassified or consolidated, which leaves 54 documents, 13 documents and 20 site-specific documents. So I just want to confirm that it is the 54 documents that we're talking about tonight that have been put into the format, or is it
rationalised? Yep.
The whole 126 is subject to this?
Ms. Squire.
Thank you for your question, councillor. Through you, Mayor Mac. Yes, there was a total of over 126 documents that were reviewed as part of the rationalisation process, 54 of which are external facing to our community. You will notice, however, there are 13 that we are identifying particularly as internal or strategic type corporate documents that direct the way that we operate internally to support the delivery of our strategies and our community strategic plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
Councillor King, no speakers. Did you wish to close debate? Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. 14.5 SRV Community Engagement Plan. Councillor Gluckin.
Thank you. I would like to...
What's that? Oh, okay. Just give me a moment. Councillor Cameron, did you wish to open debate on that item?
I did, Mayor Mac.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McGrath made note of that before Councillor Gluckin opened. So happy for you to open debate if you wish to move the motion. Do you wish to move the motion?
I wish to move a motion, yes.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Gluckin, do you wish to second?
Excuse me. I said I wish to move a motion, which I will now move.
Oh.
I move that council not invite community feedback on SRV proposals.
Right. Is that it?
If you need a tip, I now need a seconder.
Don't like feedback. Yes.
Councillor Callahan, seconding, is that right?
Yes.
Councillor Cameron, continue.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I ran for council for my second time on council in 2012, along with several other councillors here. And my motivation for that was that I was outraged by the previous council in the period, I think, if my arithmetic and memory is correct, from 2008 until 2012, that had brought in a series of special rate variations that I was very opposed to and that I thought were unnecessary. And they did have specific purposes. They were there to, among the purposes were the Lavington Sports Club redevelopment, which I voted against. There was Mama, which I voted against and have continued to advocate against, and a number of other issues that I won't string this out any longer by detailing. Special rate variations, there seems to be a culture in local government in New South Wales that there's an entitlement, a sense of entitlement to special rate variations. And this is often comes about in discussions about the rate peg. Well, I support the rate peg and I support the current Labor government's application and continuation of the rate peg because God help us, without the rate peg, rates in New South Wales would go through the roof because the average member of the New South Wales local government bureaucracy and the average councillor, who in many cases blindly follow their recommendations, see the erosion of what they think is their rightful rate base through inflation and sub-inflation rate pegs, creates a sense of entitlement and outrage that they should, by right, have a special rate variation every 3 years. Now, I think the rate peg is a healthy thing because it forces councils, or should force councils, to focus on its key roles in the Local Government Act. The things we should be doing in Albury as a council are rates, footpaths, provision of removal of rubbish and disposal of waste, and provision of clean water and sewage services, effective sewage services. I do not believe that those are fiscally beyond our means if we restrict ourselves to those core areas. But when we give money away to business groups, simply because they are business groups and think they have some entitlement to the ratepayers' rates, when we spend a ridiculous amount of money on the arts, as we've done now in various forms in Albury, where we've reached a ridiculous level where we have, artworks that are displayed and are put on display without the councillors ever being consulted, of petrified logs, for example, or an artist space where we continue to spend $2.5 million a year on Mama, as I warned would happen, despite the promises that we were given in the past of philanthropic funding coming along to save us all like a knight on a white horse. These are not core areas of local government. We need to be tough. We need to be hard. We need to harden our hearts. And we need to restrict Albury City Council's future expenditure to the core necessities of local government. And if we do that, we can do without special rate variations, I believe. No special rate variations, I say, and I have always fought against them, and I always will.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. Cameron, sorry. Councillor Glacken, I'm just looking at you speaking against. That's where I got distracted.
Yes, indeed. I was hoping to move the original motion as a recommendation. And while I speak against this motion from Councillor Cameron and seconded by Councillor Callahan, I foreshadow, because we are now in the prior code of meeting practice function, I foreshadow an alternative motion should this motion be lost, and that will be the report recommendation or motion, report recommendation that we had in our paperwork. I speak against this motion because our community clearly, and they've articulated it, because they wrote in supporting the work that we do when we looked at the budget. They wrote in support of the many functions that we undertake within our community. They made it clear that they appreciate the effort of council. They raised a few questions. They asked if we could move a few things aside, were other things necessary. And we've had a number of submissions from people saying, yes, you probably ought to have a special rates variation, but perhaps not that much. And I will talk more to that should this motion be lost and I get to speak about the report recommendation as a motion, because there's lots to talk about with reference to a special rates variation. And just to highlight, I brought some show and tell. My home insurance contents policy going up by on average 14% a year, and my HCF health insurance. I couldn't find all my old documents, but I'm happy to talk about those if I can encourage councillors to have a greater discussion about special rates variation, if we can perhaps consider that we should really go out to our community and consult more specifically about it, and not invite our community to discuss it with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. There are no further speakers for or against, so I think it's back to you, Councillor Cameron, to close your debate on your motion.
Would you like me to provide my alternative motion, please?
I'm sorry, I can't hear Councillor Glacken's interjection. Could you tell me what she said?
Councillor Jack Glacken was asking about her alternative motion, but she has foreshadowed her alternative motion if this one is lost. So I'm comfortable with the meeting code of practice. So away you go, Councillor Cameron.
Yeah, thank you. Like Councillor Glacken, I've read the submissions, but how she comes to the conclusion that anything like a majority of people want us to contemplate a special rate variation is beyond me. The information I receive and I act on.
You don't want to tell me how. Continue.
You're right?
Yeah.
No worries. Can I have a go now?
Yeah.
Thank you. The information I receive and that I act on is that people are doing it very hard financially. And while we continue to subsidise the business community, while we continue to pander to the arts community, while we continue again tonight to carry on with a 2-year experiment to the swimming community, while we are asking for more money to fix a structural deficit so that we can provide the statutorily required minimum functions that local government should provide, is an absolute non sequitur to me. So consequently, I'm opposed to special rate variations. I always have been. I've made that very clear every time I've been on council, and I will continue to do so until we're prepared to put mama into care and maintenance, until we're prepared to stop giving money to the business community, until we're prepared to stop expending money on all those areas of council that are not our core function. There should be no consideration of special rate variations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. I'm so happy to put that motion. All those in favour? Those against? Councillor King, Councillor Glacken, Councillor Hudson, Councillor Callan, Councillor Mack, Councillor Bukowski, Councillor Bullivan, Councillor Baker. Your motion is lost. So Councillor Glacken, your foreshadowed motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to, I'll just see if I can find it in this document now.
There you go.
Oh, it's up on the screen. Fantastic. I would like to move the recommendation that Council A invite community feedback on the following SRV proposals, and I highlight that it lists 3 proposals on the screen, looking at scenario description 27, 28, 28, 29, 29, 30, ranging from no rate peg, no SRV, simply the rate peg, 40% over 3 years, and 42% over 2 years. B, endorse the community engagement strategy and stakeholder engagement plan. And C, consider the community feedback received prior to making a final decision Thank you. Regarding whether or not to proceed with an application to IPART for a SRV. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pakowski.
Happy to second.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken, do you wish to open debate with your invoices and bills?
I do. Thank you very much.
Props?
For my props that I brought along with me. So I think we need to focus on what this is really looking at. This is looking at us going out for community consultation. We've had lots of community consultation already received by us as the council as part of the budget program or the process. So we've already received a significant amount of feedback from our community, and it's safe to say that our community doesn't want us to increase anything unless we really need to. But the reality is we do need to if we want our community to continue to be what it is. But we do need to, if we do want to have a special rates variation, we need to demonstrate to the New South Wales government that we have sought consultation or we have undertaken consultation with our community. It's not just this component or this body of work that will be used to justify a special rates variation, if that is indeed what we determine to do. We may actually, as a council, decide that we don't want to do that. These rates that are part of what we're suggesting would be the community consultation may not necessarily be what we finally agree should be a special rates variation, should we indeed have one. And I would like first, before I get to my own invoices, to find an email that I asked our staff if they could remind me of a table that we had seen over the last few weeks, we as councillors, were sent a copy of a table that showed a number of councils in New South Wales had their special rates variations approved. Now, there are 10 councils that applied, 9 of which were approved. Of those 9 that were approved, they range from 12.8% over 1 year, but they've had 2 previous special rate variations approved. There was one council, there were a number that had had multiples previously and a number that had had previous special rates variation. More than half of the councils who have had it approved have had previous special rates variations. There was one, Ballina. They want to have 26.25% over 4 years. They've had 3 prior approvals. And they have provided information to our staff that it was because they didn't ask for enough. And that's why they've had to go back 3 times. So those rate increases, the special variations of rates, have increasing from 26.25% to up to 58% over 2 years. So what we're going out with is not out of the ballpark, and it's not something that we should not be considering as part of our consultation process. So the information I brought is my healthcare. It has only gone up by 6.25% in the last year, and I'm really disappointed I couldn't find the years prior to this because I know it went up significantly more. I did get my insurance premiums over the last few years. Between 2002 and 2003-04, because I couldn't find one of the invoices, it went up in 2 years by 32.5%. I had actually increased my excess component to try and decrease the cost, but it still went up by 32.5%. We'd made no claims. We're not in a flood or fire risk zone. The next year, it went up by 15%. Last year, oh, thank goodness it only went up by 10%. So if people think that we are unusual at council, that we should be looking at increasing our possibility of generating or increasing the fees or the rates, then I think they're wrong. Yes, Everyone is doing it tougher. No, I don't want to pay more rates. I live here too. I do not want my rates to go up, but I accept that if I want to live in a community that has the facilities, the services, the infrastructure that we do, then we need to be looking at this. We need to be asking our community. This is a report that offers us that opportunity to ask our community to seek feedback, and I want us to seek that feedback. Thank you very much.
Question from Councillor Cameron. Or speaking against. Thank you. Speaking against.
Thanks, Mayor Mac. I'd like to thank Councillor Glacken for a contribution. I'd like to thank her for validating what I said earlier, that there is a mentality amongst some councillors and amongst local government bureaucracy that special rate variations are some sort of right or something that can be expected. In quoting that there are 10 councils that had them approved, or 9 councils that had them approved, and Riley noting that Ballina didn't ask for enough. Well, I don't see it that way. Special rate variations are an admission of failure. Albury has traditionally, over the course of its history, been one of the few councils in New South Wales that have been fiscally sound and fiscally strong. And this is not the first time that Councillor Glacken has been an advocate for special rate variations. She was so when Mayor in the term 2008 to 2012. And, you know, there are some councillors, not just in this council, but across New South Wales, that seem to think that they are normal and to be expected. Councillor Glacken, I congratulate her also on being able to afford private health insurance and contents insurance. But there are many people in North Albury and Lavington who cannot afford those things. And if special rate variations come in, there'll be many more people in North Albury and Lavington who will not be able to afford those things and many other things that are essential to life. We need, as I said earlier, to be seriously looking at the things we spend the ratepayers' money on and curtailing that expenditure to the core functions of local government. Everything else must be reduced, including giving money to business groups, the operation of Mama, and other associated art spaces like the art facility at the waterworks. It's not a pleasant thing to have to do, but it's a necessary thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Question from Councillor King and then the Speaker 4.
Thank you, and thank you, Councillor Cameron. I tend to concur with some of those suggestions that you've discussed there. One reason I'm uncomfortable with this motion as it sits is there was a suggestion of a submitter of a fourth option, a 24% special rate variation over 3 years, supported by something around 5% in internal savings and the outsourcing of appropriate non-core services. I understand it was a late submission. We haven't really had an opportunity to really look at that in great detail. I know councillors were sent an update very late today. Is someone able to give a summary as to why that's not able or wasn't to be included in the recommendation?
Mr. Hastie. Mr. McGrath.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Councillor King, that submission that you refer to, I think, was received at 11:36 a.m. this morning. The time that's ensued since then, given the staff were engaged on a range of activities in preparation for tonight's meeting, prevented detailed exploration. However, the previous submission by that particular individual was explored, and in actual fact, a phone conversation occurred with the author of that original submission that spoke last Thursday evening, to point out the fact that, and that was in an email that went to councillors this afternoon, pointing out that it does not deliver on a number of the critical outcomes that council needs to achieve if it's going to go through the pain of an SRV. So operating performance is one thing, that is moving general fund back to at least a balanced budget, addressing the debt in general fund, by having sufficient cash to enable council to invest in asset renewal as opposed to borrowing for asset renewal. On an ongoing basis, it is not a readily accepted position that you borrow for infrastructure renewal. For generational assets, yes, and that's indeed one of the goals through the rationalisation process to try and deal with some of those issues. And the third issue is that it resulted in significant reliance on debt generally that put council's debt profile way above even where it was on the base case scenario 1 in the LTFP. As I said, 11:36 this morning, that email was received with the updated version. That could be teased out, but once again, there isn't a solid plan behind the efficiencies that are suggested. And indeed, that's something that we would be looking to talk to councillors about at the CEO workshop that has been mooted. And I think there is a plan that needs to be developed to support generating efficiencies within the organisation. That is something that with the recent resourcing or the anticipated resourcing interviews on Wednesday to resource the Enterprise Program Management Office, we're hopeful that by the time we run that CEO workshop, we can have a draft plan that'll give some confidence to council about the activities that are proposed. I would have to suggest to you, however, that I cannot, my personal view is I struggle to see how council would deliver the scale of savings that are necessary without major impact on the community. And I make that comment in light of some of the challenges that I've observed councillors experience over recent months. For example, the closure of the pool was one of the initiatives. There was a couple of others. The community centre discussion that occurred last Thursday night at the public forum. Some of the contributions to various community groups. I forget, was it the Hot House, for example? They're relatively minor, but I think what the point I'm trying to make is if every time there are service efficiencies put up to council and there is a struggle to adopt them, it increases the reliance on looking at revenue. And when council is in a position to look at revenue, there are very limited opportunities for looking at revenue outside of rating, user fees and charges, for example. So it is a complex issue. Although the one final thing I will say, I'm sorry, is my biggest personal concern would be that if you go out with a low estimate for an SRV and find that it is not able to deliver the results that you desire, then going up is problematic. I fully anticipate that at the sort of indications that are there now and with the other work that's being undertaken internally, we'll be able to get it down from where it is at the moment. What that looks like in its final form, I'm not in a position to say. That's the subject of some further work over the next month to 6 weeks. I'm sorry for the long-winded answer, but there's only one way to do it.
Kathleen, comfortable with that? He just finished within his time. There's a lot of time. Councillor Baker, speaking for.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I'm speaking for this to go out on public exhibition. It's worth noting that number 1 is the position Councillor Cameron took at the start of this meeting. No rate, no SRV, and only the rate peg. The other 2 are of a higher percentage, and it's designed to get the general fund under control sooner rather than later. We're going to hear from our community, and I think this work has to be done either way, whether we decline to do anything about an SRV later in the year or we take one up. And this process and this work has to be done, and it must be one of the options that council looks at. So I'm fully behind it. I'm excited to find out what the community thinks. And in my discussions, and I talk to a lot of people every day, when you explain that the 45% or the 42% is a cumulative number of a series of rate rises, none of which are 42% per year, they are a lot more understanding. So I think there's an education process. There's an understanding of where council's finances are at. And there's also an expectation that the services that we come to Albury, why we live here, and why people will still want to move here, is because some of those services are available. They don't want to live where you only get your rubbish removed and what is it? Rubbish rates and
roads, rates and rubbish.
Yeah. I acknowledge they're the core functions, but council does a whole lot more. And council's role has grown over the years. I think way back it was only those three things, but it's got a lot more responsibilities. And I think this is a really prudent way of looking to the future. So I'm supporting it.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. No speakers against. We've got question or speaking against, Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. And apologies, Councillor Cameron. The only reason I didn't support your previous motion is because I want to hear what the community has to say. And I suspect a large majority of the community will have a foul distaste in their mouth and balk at the concept of a 40 to 42% rate variation. Tonight's decision is not simply about balancing the budget. It's about asking the people of Albury, our community, families, pensioners, single income households, students, renters and small businesses to pay substantially more because council finds itself in a difficult financial position. I acknowledge that those financial challenges are real. The rate peg has restricted revenue growth while costs have risen significantly. Insurance has increased, wages have increased, construction costs have increased. State and federal governments continue to shift responsibilities onto local government without providing adequate funding. We also manage sustainable community assets that require ongoing maintenance and renewal. But acknowledging these challenges does not mean that the solution is a 42% special rate variation. The scenarios up here are the status quo or unmanageable for our community. Every one of us here has had a similar increase in costs imposed upon us, and my family has seen those increased bills as well, and fuel costs and increases to our insurances and higher grocery bills, and we budget. And council should be doing the same. This is not the community's fault. The people of Albury did not decide to undercharge developer contribution for years. They did not determine borrowing strategies. They did not approve capital projects or create structural imbalance between income and expenditure. Yet they have now been asked to pay the bill. Before asking our community to tighten their belts, council must demonstrate that it's tightened its own belt. That means reviewing our priorities, restraining our spending, and being prepared to make difficult decisions within our own organisation. We have a responsibility to exhaust every reasonable alternative before turning to ratepayers, and I'm confident staff will continue to work diligently as there is more work to be done on refining the budget at the quarterly review. A special rate variation should be the last resort. For those reasons, I do not support an SRV in the order of 40 to 42%, and I expect the community will reject this figure as well. I suspect many will be willing to forego services given they'll be facing cuts to their health care, forced to choose between paying bills or putting food on the table. I had one member of the community reach out to me today saying that they don't think that they can live in Albury with a rate that high. They just simply cannot sustain that type of living. So I suppose when we get back to a more sustainable financial position, I'm sure people will be willing to forego the niceties to stay in Albury and get back to a frugal financial base in time, but now is not it. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker for Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. As Councillor Glacken told us, this year 10 councils applied for special rate variations. Last year, that number was 9. In 2024, it was 9. In 2023, it was 17. And in 2022, it was 86. That's 131 councils in the last 5 years. And there's only 128 councils in New South Wales. So fundamentally, they actually shouldn't be called a special rate variation. That's a misnomer. That what they should be called is an inevitable rate variation. Not because councillors hold any sort of entitlement towards ratepayer money, but because there is a structural issue in this state, which means that due to handbrakes like the rate peg and like cost shifting, it is virtually impossible for local governments to ever be financially sustainable in the long term, because we are not enabled to raise the revenue that we need to deliver the services that our community expects us to in line with the costs that they impose. A good example of this is in 2023, the emergency services levy, which the vast majority of our community, I believe, would imagine that the state government pays for our emergency services like the RFS and the SES. But councils are forced to contribute to that. And in 2023, the amount that was the increase that was imposed on Albury City consumed 19% of the total increase in rate revenue that this city received. That's a huge cost shift, and that's just but one of many, many examples. We know that local government New South Wales, the analysis that they do shows that the costs imposed through things like the emergency services levy, through Crown Lands Management, through a whole host of other things that councils are forced to do because the state government don't do it, amounts to about $500 per ratepayer per year. And in Albury's case, that equates to something like $13 million per year in cost shifting. Now, the amount that we are looking for, that we would need to cut to completely offset this special rate variation proposal, is on the order of $18 million. I mean, it's not hard to work out why we're in this position. The state government uses the rate peg to abrogate its responsibility to adequately fund communities and pass it off as financial mismanagement by local councils. Now, I'm not saying that council has been perfect at managing its finances. It absolutely has not. I wish that previous councils had increased our developer contributions. A 1,000 lot development approved in Thaguna that paid $12,000 per lot when they should have been paying $20,000. That's an $8 million shortfall in infrastructure costs that have to be borne by the ratepayers. I absolutely shudder to think how much money this council has foregone since 2014 because our developer contributions have been as low as they have been. And before anybody says, oh, well, that money would just raise the cost of housing in Albury. No, it wouldn't. Let's look at Wagga. They have much higher developer contributions than we have. And yet the average price of a 4-bedroom home in Albury is over $140,000 more than in Wagga. The market determines the cost of housing, not the amount that councils charge to developers. And yet we're talking about extremely large amounts of revenue that council has foregone. And that bill has come due now, unfortunately. I don't think there's a single person here in this room that wants us to have a special rate variation at all, let alone one of the magnitude that we are proposing to put forward to our community. And I do have to commend Councillor Cameron on his consistency. I've never heard him give anything other than the most vociferous opposition to an SRV the whole time that I've known him. So, you know, there is absolutely that. But at the same time, it does make me wonder. I think that if council was bequeathed a goose that laid golden eggs, Councillor Cameron would oppose us keeping it because goose keeping isn't a core council service. Right? Now, I'm obviously being ridiculous, but the point I'm making is that roads, rates and rubbish are no longer in line with the expectations of our community. We have so many other services that we have to deliver, and we need the revenue to be able to do it. Costs are one thing. Absolutely, we should be getting our own house in order. I would love us to raise more revenue from developers. I would love us to reduce our reliance on consultants and grow our own and build up the capacity of our local staff to do the work that needs to be done. We're never going to be able to do that with the harshest austerity measures that we could possibly implement. It can't be done. I work with some of the most vulnerable and least well-off people in our community. I know exactly how unbearable this rate rise, if passed in full, what is being proposed to them would mean. It is completely untenable. But we have to go through this process of consultation with the community, and we have to honestly do that and honestly take into account the costs, but also the revenue side of the equation, so that we continue to be financially sustainable into the future and provide the services that those people need, like our community centres, like the other social services that we provide. So are there ways we can be changing the way we do business? Absolutely. But we cannot ignore the revenue side of the equation. And we absolutely cannot, our community cannot, in my view, accept the level of cuts that would be necessary to avoid this special rate variation. And we know that even if we did apply the $18 million or so in cuts necessary to avoid it, we would actually just be back here in the next 5 to 10 years anyway, because we would not be addressing that underlying structural issue. So I wish we didn't have to do it, and I think everybody here would agree with that, but we do at least need to go through the process of getting consultation with our community on this, and that's why I support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hudson. No speakers against. Speaker for, Councillor King.
I commend Councillor Hudson for his well thought out and constructed debate. And really at the heart of this discussion is a simple but important challenge, as he's identified. How do we keep rates as affordable as possible for our residents while still meeting council's financial obligations? Because that's a key component here, as well as planning properly for what our city needs into the future. My preference would be that the first stage of community consultation gives people real choices, not just one path forward, as we've reiterated, but clear options they can genuinely respond to, notwithstanding that that may not be what it looks like. But part of me goes, wow, you know, we're sort of hitting them pretty hard with an option that may not come to fruition. But the reality is we can't keep going the way we are. Our income, as we all know, is capped by the state government's rate peg. Financial assistance grants have reduced over time, yet the costs of delivering services keeps rising, and that pressure really is building. And we do have to deal with it honestly. And as councillors, we do have a dual responsibility, I believe. We have to be careful and responsible with ratepayers' money, at the same time make sure our core services are delivered. Things that Councillor Cameron has reiterated: the roads, the bridges, footpaths, essential infrastructure. But we also have to recognise that council plays a role in supporting the social side of our community too, which is what we've been alluded to. Cutting services can be an option, particularly where there are good private alternatives, but we also have to be mindful of those that really bind our community together as well. I think the rate increases currently being proposed would place a very heavy burden on many households. While council is doing work internally to find savings and rationalise services, I don't think this should be something we do to the community. We should be doing it with them, working together to share the load in a fair way. So our job really is to find the right balance, being financially responsible. But I think the key is making sure that people can see that we're actually delivering services as efficiently as possible. And I'm not quite sure that they've got a full picture of that. And the transparency elements around that. So I think there's a lot of work to do from our perspective if this goes ahead, that we're relating with our community and being really upfront, you know, about what our services cost and why, because that's what will build trust. We also know governments carry more overheads than the private sector because of some of these state and federal requirements, but it does makes sense to have a hard look at whether some of these services could be delivered more efficiently elsewhere without losing quality or access. Because if we're hoping to fund the machine we've got now, it is a recipe for failure. The two rate increase options currently on the table, as I see it, simply are not affordable for many ratepayers. And in my view, I do think council will have time convincing IPART that these increases of this size are reasonable. At the same time, doing nothing and relying solely on the rate peg isn't responsible either. So we're already carrying significant borrowings, and major sewer infrastructure upgrades are coming whether we like it or not. And I really think our state and federal MPs need to do better. We've been talking some time about inquiries into financial sustainability, as Councillor Hudson mentioned and Councillor Glacken. It's an ongoing issue. We really need to find a more equitable funding model for councils to be delivered, and I hope that they can act on that in a speedy manner. My preference would have been to have a more sort of drawn out mid-tier option. It's not part of the motion, and I accept that. I do think that would have given our community a more balanced choice, while also respecting what people can realistically afford, because we need to be honest, fair, working with our community, not asking them to carry more than they reasonably can, because rates are not a discretionary spend. It really is something that has to be paid for people to retain their homes.
Thank you. Question, Councillor Callaghan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Mac, to the most relevant staff member. I'm hoping Mr. Hennon just, I know it's in our booklet here about what it looks like, but when people are going to be going onto the website, sometimes it can be quite challenging to navigate. What's it going to look like for our community through that consultation process and the ease in which they can engage with it?
Mr. Hennon.
Thanks very much for your question, Councillor Callaghan, and through you, Mr. Mayor. We're obviously trying to make the Have Your Say page as reader-friendly as possible, but we're making sure that we're outlining the why and the how we propose to do that. Right up top, we're going to have the rates calculator that we referred to. We're going to have that rates calculator wherever we talk to people face-to-face, or whether it's on the Have Your Say page as well. It'll be at the pop-ups. The options themselves, we've got drop-down boxes for everyone, so you can actually have a look what option 1 means to you, what option 2 means to you, what option 3 means to you. We really are trying to make that page as easy to navigate as possible. And you can see through the community engagement strategy, that's one way. We've got so many other pop-ups, focus groups, face-to-face sessions where you can come along and ask one-to-one questions about your own situation. So yes, the Have Your Say page is there. We hope it's as least complex as possible we've got to get the information across, but we've also got to make it a page that's easy to navigate. So absolutely, I take on board what you're saying, and we will be looking at that. But we also need to put all the information there that we possibly can to make sure that everybody is fully informed and fully aware of the possible impact of what it is. For example, if we're putting a flyer in with the rates notices, for example, we've got the average residential rates table of the impact over 3 years. So we've talked about a 40-odd% increase, but that's a 14% in year 1, 13% in year 2. So what our community are hearing is this massive 42, 45. No, it's 14, it's 13, it's 13. So we'll be explaining that that's the impact of year 1, that's the impact of year 2. It's not 42% every year, for example. So when we go out to the community, we'll be making sure that's very, very clear as well. In the rates notice, we've got an example of the average residential rates, but then you can click on a QR code, which we know everybody's now familiar with how to use, and you can say, if you pay business or farmland, click on this code and you can see how that impacts, and it'll be the similar table with that impact of every year plus the cumulative amount at the end. So we're not trying to put every single bit of information on the one page. We're using QR codes where we can, so you only need to navigate to there if you do pay those additional rates in other areas.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, there are no further speakers for or against. Just to tidy up the end, I think I do listen to everyone's debating points, and Councillor Cameron, thank you for your feedback, and certainly it is fair and well balanced, as I've said before about the other motions before council. It has been a very challenging night, and leadership does require us to make decisions based on facts and based on the information we have before us. I think historically it's been laboured on quite a bit tonight, but historically 1977, the famous Labor Premier Neville Wran created rate pegging, and since 1977, rate pegging has not kept in step with the CPI. So essentially over that period, councils have had to be finding savings or getting support from the government to develop projects in the way of getting commitments from the government to fund projects. So essentially over that period, for an example, since 2010-11, when the shires, the local government and shires did a cost of shifting report, it was $499 million estimated at that time. Today, as Councillor Hudson has said, it's 1.5 billion. That's just in New South Wales Council. It equates to about $497 per person of cost shifting from state and federal governments. And inordinately, the grants and money available from state and federal governments is drying up and has dried up. And historically, with Albury, for some reason, we did some analysis a few years ago, has always been one of the more underfunded communities, regional sized communities in New South Wales. So to do what we've done over the period is quite extraordinary. And I think, again, the staff and certainly the leadership need to be congratulated for enabling such a wonderful community to be able to be the thriving community that it is. But the issue still remains that we've had in 1987 around about, we had a stock market crash, the biggest one since the 1920s. We survived. We had the GFC, we survived, and now we've had COVID. And since COVID, the cost of doing business is at a 5 times multiplier. Now, they're the facts we have in front of us. And again, the rate peg is 3.6%. The CPI is at 5%. Again, we're out of step with what the rate is doing and what we're able to afford. And yes, to the point, if we can't afford to go to the movies, we shouldn't go. But we're not going to the movies. We're providing essential services to our community. Our staff are doing what they can to find significant savings across the organisation. And this particular engagement is about 3.6 or 42 or 46%. There are 3 options in there. I'll be interested to hear from our community. I encourage our community to participate in Have Your Say and engagement platforms to give us the guidance we require as a councillor group, as the leaders in your community, to make the decision on your behalf. Suffice to say, this decision is to go forward with an application or bring another report back to council to go forward with an application. So there's another fail-safe in this discussion. We're not setting off the nuclear bomb with this engagement. We're just engaging with our people because we want to know and want them to know transparently what the situation is. So the next step is, it comes back from the community engagement, a report is provided to council about what the number is, with provision for the savings that will be clearer by that point that council can make. And then we need to decide whether we go forward. Again, that's another fail-safe. So if we don't have the conversation, we don't know. And I think that's important to understand. So this conversation is about engagement, being honest with our community. And yes, to Councillor Glacken's point, bills are gone up, gone through the roof. But we are managing a very complex business that has many areas of our business. And to compare our business as being one of the highest rated councils in New South Wales is pure folly when you consider the amount of businesses we provide to the community. Wodonga, for instance, if you compared our rates to Wodonga, they're not dissimilar to what we're proposing. However, Wodonga don't charge their water and sewer. We do. So initially, you can't compare apples for apples. And I think, again, the staff are doing what they need to do to achieve an objective for our thriving and growing community. And yes, there have been some missteps over the journey, but we need to make up for that and actually get the job done, because I don't think there's been extreme waste of money. I think it's just caught up with us in terms of the economic climate. So thank you, staff, for that particular report and doing what you need to do. Councillor Glacken, do you wish to close?
Love to. Thank you very much. I want to thank the councillors for their input to this, and some of it was touched on in a couple of reports ago when we were looking at the budget as well. So I acknowledge that broad discussion. And thank you, Councillor Hudson, for the statistics that you provided, the fact the Mayor has confirmed that it's almost half a century that we've had the rates cap imposed on us as councils in New South Wales. So that's really half a century of councils having to tighten their belts, make cuts. It's been like salami slicing for almost half a century. And you can continue to cut that salami, but at the end of time, you get to the end. At some stage, we get to that point where we cannot continue to cut costs. We've had some feedback from people that suggest that we should find even more cost savings. We'd love to. And if we can, I know our staff will. But for decades, we have been finding those opportunities and realising them. We have overall, in real terms, decreased our spending significantly over the last almost 5 decades, because the reality is the income through our rates, and there were many years, or a number of years, in that period where we didn't increase our rates at all. We didn't even accept the rate cap. So in real terms, our money has gone backwards. The scale of the savings that we can make just aren't there anymore. But I know our staff will continue to find them wherever they can. The increasing rating of council trying to find other opportunities is really hard. There are very few opportunities for us as a council, very few levers that we can manoeuvre or control. The report has suggested 3 options to the community. We have had suggestions by other people in the community, a 20% increase over 4 years, and then later that was revised to 31 or 26%. But those suggestions by community members are really, and they acknowledge it themselves, they've got some bits of information, so they end up being a cog that's not quite connected to the other cogs of council because they don't have all that information, and they do acknowledge that. But we need those people to make those suggestions so that we can confirm, verify the way in which we're going about things, the path, those increments, and how the community actually do feel about it. And I want to know, how are we going to, Councillor Callaghan asked a few questions about our community consultation and the process. I want to know, and I don't expect an answer now, but I want to know, how are we going to get that message across that it's almost 5 decades that this has been affecting us, that there, in real terms, that we have gone significantly backwards, that we have continued to make savings over those years. How are we going to get that message across? Because one of the biggest things, or most common things that people say to us is, you've got to tighten your own belts first. Yes, I have no doubt that that's what they think. But the reality is we have done that for decades. We have, in real terms. I look forward to us being able to present this to our community. Somehow we also need to be able to present to them that we are not unique. And Councillor Hudson provided us with an amazing insight into the numbers of applications that had been made. Our own staff had provided us with some detail of more recent applications, councils who have applied more than once, more than twice, and for a 3rd time prior to their most recent. So I think it's all interesting information in the background, and now we need to present all of that somehow to our community. I don't envy our staff having to do so to achieve a balanced view and all of that information. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Okay, councillors, we have the Local Government Remuneration Tribunal Annual Report and Determinations. Councillor Bulvin.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I have an alternate motion, if we could please.
Yep. Thank you.
I move that Council, 1, receives and notes the report on council and mayoral fees for the 2026-2027 2, fix annual fees payable to councillors and mayor in the 26 and 27 to the rates paid in the 2025-2026. 3, fixes the annual fee payable to each Audit and Risk Improvement Committee independent member of $5,960 and an additional $2,318 for the chair for the 2026-27 financial year, pursuant with Section 249 of the Local Government Act 1993, New South Wales, and in accordance with the Local Government Remuneration Tribunal's 2026 annual report and determination.
Thank you. Councillor Hudson.
Very happy to second that, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Councillor Bullen, do you wish to open debate on your motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Mac. As councillors, we have the privilege of presiding over a lot of things every single week. And the last couple of weeks, we've been making service cuts and trying to get the business in order. And tonight, the spectre of an SRV has been played out to the community, and we're going to put it out to community consultation. But one of the things about leadership in the world is that you've got to go along with the journey with your residents. And I'm more than happy not to pursue a pay rise that is given to us yearly. I think that we, as a group of councillors, show our community that we're invested in what they're doing in their journey. Yes, I know we put a lot of time into this work, but it's just part of the journey we're going, and I can't see us taking up a pay rise. And with what's happening with our community, it doesn't paint a very good optic. I think we need to be really on top of that. You get people that government this, government that, they've always got their snout in the trough. We haven't. We do a job. The money we do, we don't get much money for what we do. But it's the message that I want to send as a councillor, and particularly our councillor group, that we're on the journey with you, and we want to go along. It's not a good thing, but it's just the right decision to make on behalf of our residents. And I think that will resonate with our people. They know that we work really hard in doing what we do. We put a lot of time into what we do. We spend a lot of time away from our families, but we're in it for the right reason. It's $480 pay rise or something like that in the grand scheme of things. But I think that we should think really seriously about what we're doing and bring our community along with the journey.
Thank you, Councillor Bullen. It's actually 1,030. So there you go. No speakers against. I've got speakers for. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I think Councillor Bullen and I sent in identical alternative motions. So I'm very happy to second this. Fundamentally, I think that local councillor remuneration in this state is actually not adequate. And the reason for that is because it is a barrier to getting more diversity into local government. Ultimately, the only people who can be councillors in this state are those who can afford to do it. And that's a problem because it means that we miss out on a diversity of voices. We don't have the single parents who are working multiple jobs. We don't have people who come from really disadvantaged backgrounds by and large, because those people have to work to survive and they would not be able to accept the effective pay cut that they would need to take on this role. If I spent the hours that I spend on my councillor duties working in the hospital, I would make more money, which is crazy to say given how poorly nurses are paid in this state. Mm-hmm. But with that said, and echoing the sentiments of Councillor Bullivant, this is a way for us to demonstrate to our community that no, we are invested in this process. There's no way that I could support us putting a special rate variation out to the community and then turn around and say, yes, thanks very much, I'll take a pay rise. It couldn't happen. So as much as I do think that in general, councillors are not paid enough in this state, I do think it's appropriate that we, even though this is really very much a token gesture, we demonstrate to the community that we are doing what we can to tighten our belts and to get our house in order, whilst at the same time addressing, as we know we need to, the revenue side of the equation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hudson. No speakers against. Speaker for, Councillor Bukowski.
Yeah, thank you. Reiterating the sentiments of Councillor Bullivant and Councillor Hudson, I don't believe it's appropriate for us as councillors to vote for an increase, considering that we're asking our community to bear the burden of some really difficult financial decisions. I think that leadership requires us to share in the sacrifices that we're asking of our community. And at this moment, the right message I think we can send to our community as councillors is that we understand the pressures that they are facing and that we're prepared to lead by example. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaking for councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I also support this motion, and I did pick up on something that Councillor Hudson said about diversity of councillors and everything. I think we do have an issue about who gets elected to council, and often it's a popularity contest. So we don't always get the best people available. So I don't know how you change it, but it would be really good if we did have a new cohort that could come through into the future, and also that they want to be part of local government. That's the other thing. So it is rewarding in some ways, but it is hard work, and there's often fierce debate, and you go home frustrated and angry sometimes and annoyed and can't go to sleep, but there's a lot of other good stuff that happens. So yeah, that's all I'm saying. No pay rise, and I'd encourage other people to put their hand up for election when it comes around next. Thank you.
And have sleepless nights, yeah. Councillor King speaking for, no speakers against.
Yes, very happy to support this motion, and it's something a bit icky, isn't it, when we have to decide to grant ourselves a remuneration pay rise, and whenever it comes, I always feel a bit awkward about the whole idea of that. So very happy because, as everyone else has mentioned, we really do need to lead by example, and it's not a lot, clearly, but every bit adds up, and very happy to support the motion. So thanks, Councillor Bullivant, for bringing it forward.
Thank you. Any further speakers for or against? Just to finish, I do echo the sentiments of the councillors here this evening. And, you know, as I said before, leadership comes at a cost, basically, but the issue is the leaders of our country should follow our example, because they're happy to give themselves pay rises every day, including at a state and federal level. And sometimes the community need to see that you put your
Point of
your
order,
money where your mouth is.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Cameron.
The leaders of our country at a state and federal level do not give themselves pay increases. It's set by an independent tribunal.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Cameron. They can't refuse it.
Point of order there, mate.
Yes, Councillor Hudson.
I don't understand how Councillor Cameron's point of order relates to the Code of Meeting Practice, which is what I understand points of order are meant to relate to. I believe he's just engaging in debate when he's already had the opportunity to do so.
Thank you, Councillor Hudson. Accept your point of order. Councillor Cameron,
On
please.
the point of order,
Yes, Councillor Cameron.
the point of order relates to the need in the meeting code of practice that comments are accurate and truthful.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Happy to draw the line on that one. So, councillors, I warmly receive this motion that has been amended and certainly represents, it would appear, the majority view. I'll meet that out in the final vote. But Councillor Bullivant, do you wish to close debate?
Thank you, Mayor Mac. No, more to thank my fellow councillors for taking this motion, looking at it, and hopefully voting the right way. And also I'd like to thank Councillor Hudson, because he also moved an amendment which was similar to mine. And so we cut and pasted a little bit and got the right amendment up. So thank him for his help.
Thank you. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Moving on, we now have officers' reports for noting the investment balances. CM 15.1, Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. I'd like to move the recommendation that council receive and note the investment balances report for the month of May 2026. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perkowski.
Seconding, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken, did you wish to speak to that?
No.
No?
Thank you, no.
Thank you. No further question or debate. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? That motion is carried. There are no delegates' reports for noting. Notice of urgent business. Is there any councillors? Yep.
With reference to the meeting, change of meeting code of meeting practice that we had earlier tonight, will we be reissued with a revised schedule for meeting?
we will.
And is it possible for staff to consider reverting away from the Thursday night community forums, noting that we will be going back to 2 council meetings per month? And should something need to be deferred, it's only for 2 weeks that it would be deferred. I believe I have a seconder here. A thirder.
Mr. McGrath,
Mr. Mayor, can I just suggest that we'll take that comment on notice and look at it, but I would draw council's attention to public forum last Thursday evening. And if that had have been on tonight, you know, we'd be 10:30 before we're even getting to the closed session tonight. So, and I think the other thing that I took from it, there was a really good opportunity post Thursday for certain clarification to be provided to all councillors to help in the decision making this evening. So that was the primary aim of shifting public forum away from the council meeting evening. But rest assured, 13th of July and 27th of July will be the 2 council meetings, and we will have a discussion about public forum, as well as pre-meeting briefing sessions and other activities.
Thank you.
thank you, Mr. McGrath. Just before we go on the confidential item, does anyone need to have a toilet break? Thank you. We'll just adjourn for a short toilet break.
I just did, Mr. Mayor.
Too much information.
No, you know what? I'm
We can't afford it. Thank you, councillors. We'll just wind up the meeting. We'll move into confidential. Can I have a move into confidential? Thanks, councillor Glacken.
Thank you. I'd like to move the recommendation that council move into confidential to discuss item number CM 18.1, as this is a confidential item exclusive of press and public on the grounds that the matter relates to A, personnel matters concerning particular individuals other than councillors, and D, commercial information of a confidential nature that would, if disclosed, one, prejudice the commercial position of the person who supplied it or supplied it. Local Government Act 1993, New South Wales, 10A 2ADI. Thank you.
Thank you. Seconder.
Yeah.
Councillor Hudson.
The second.
Thank you. And I'd like to ask if there's anyone in the chamber that has any submissions or statements in relation to the reasons identified for the confidential item. No, there are no submissions received. I'm happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Okay, councillors, I need to remind the live stream viewers that the motion moving to confidential has now been carried for our live stream viewers. We will now say goodbye. You can find the outcome of this confidential session in the meeting minutes, which